Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Milwaukee Brewers. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get your HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets wrap up their four-game series against the Milwaukee Brewers. When you saw the weathercast this morning, did you think there was going to be a game tonight? We sure didn't, but there's baseball here because the storm has moved to the west, and that means another opportunity for young Lucas Duda to show his wares to the Mets brass.
Well, we all know Lucas got off to the horrible start, 1 for 34, and he's just really come back strong now. 3 home runs. This is his 3rd of the season. That was a little cutter inside, showed a lot of bat speed inside. That's a rocket. We know he's got some pop. We didn't know he played that good at defense. He's played a very good left field. If you look at his hits, he's now hitting 197. He's got 8 extra base hits, 5 doubles, and 3 home runs of his 11 hits. So this is a guy that's got a potential. Ralph liked him, and I think he's got a chance to be a pretty good hitter.
And with Carlos Beltran out and Nick Evans out, Duda tonight will get a chance against the left-hander. As for the Mets, Dylan G will take them out. His 5th start, and boy, has he been impressive.
Well, he's been fantastic with an ERA of 2. You could argue that he is one of the best September call-ups for pitchers that the Mets have had in quite some time. He showed that he has all 4 pitches. He can throw all 4 pitches for strikes, and his 92-mile-an-hour fastball, the fastest he's thrown all year, was his last pitch in the 7th inning against the Phillies. And he's going to be going up against Chris Narveson, who's had an interesting year. High ERA over 5, but he's collected 11 wins.
So it's Dylan G making his final start of an impressive rookie September for the Mets. Mets and the Brewers wrapping up their series. Get a snack and come on back. All the action on SNY. To you by Geico, by AT NYN, Rethink Possible, by Frostbird Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer, by BJ's Wholesale. Join Isunori Takahashi this Friday at the Flushing BJ's, located at 131-07 40th Road from 1 to 2 p.m. for a meet and greet and a chance to win Mets tickets, courtesy of BJ's Tide and Downey. By Rums of Puerto Rico, the rum capital of the world. And by freescore.com. Turn a credit score triple play at freescore.com. 3 scores, 1 source, freescore.com. Visit the official online shop of the Mets at Mets.com. Browse the largest online selection of authentic team gear, including official caps, t-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and more. Get your team gear straight from the source. Shop the Mets.com shop. Here's your Suzuki around the majors. The Yankees falling to the Jays last night, half game behind Tampa Bay for the American League East title. Of course, they're both going to the postseason. This afternoon, the Giants hit 3 home runs. Buster Posey, Pablo Sandoval, Andres Torres. They beat the Diamondbacks 4-1. They're now 2.5 games up on the Padres, who are playing the Cubs right now. The Padres have been struggling, and they had a rain delay at the start of the game in San Diego tonight. A rain delay in San Diego.
And we didn't have one here.
Do they have a tarp?
Can you believe that? I think they had rust on the tarp. They had to scrape that off before they could get it out on the field. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV. And if you're not near a TV, listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. The Nats are in for the final 3 games of the season, starting tomorrow night. After that, it's Port St. Lucie. Here we come. Dylan G, ready for his 5th and final start of the season as a Met. He'll take the mound for the first pitch coming up. By Ford, you'll notice that Ken Maka has slyly moved Casey McGee into the 3-hole in this game. That's because Casey has 99 RBIs, and Maka's trying to get him to 100. He's gone 7 games without an RBI, so he has him behind Ryan Braun. Figures maybe that's the ticket to get McGee to triple digits.
Well, Dylan G is having an outstanding September. Only the 5th Mets pitcher in their almost 50-year history to have a 2 ERA or lower after 4 starts. He has shown a lot. We've got a lot of pitchers that have come up for the Mets that they work on breaking pitches when they get to the major leagues. He has already established his.
Oh, the Lexus defense
And you can see most starts. David Wright again. He's always in there every day. He's a trooper. Duda, Pagan, Feliciano, Hessman, Tejada, Reyes, Wright, and Mike Nikias gets another start behind the plate. I'm sorry I was hesitant there, folks, but our award-winning director was talking in my ear and distracting me.
Nikias had a couple hits in his start yesterday.
Dylan G, who was 13-8 pitching in AAA this year, led the International League in strikeouts.
That's Greg Schiavone, another Sag Harborite. Greg is in politics in Sag Harbor. I think he's town council. I'm not sure, but he is a diehard Met fan, and
Did you leave tickets for him tonight?
Yes, I did.
Now, wait a second. This is 2 straight Sag Harbor folks that Keith has left tickets for who are in the front row.
Steve Hernandez.
Well,
I mean,
I didn't leave. Yes. Well, they're moving around.
You and I don't leave front row tickets for people.
I got. I'm leaving 4 more tomorrow.
Is that what it's called? You guys are Sag Harborites? Is that what it is?
I guess.
Oh, okay.
Or Harborians. Ricky Weeks leads off against Dylan G. Weeks 3 for 12 in this series. The Brewers have taken 2 of 3 so far. And G's first pitch of the night is on the outside corner for a strike. Weeks sitting at 270. He's in the top 10 in the National League in hits, in runs scored. He leads the league in getting hit by pitch, but he's also struck out 179 times. That's 3rd in the league.
Brian Knight, the home plate umpire. Not a rookie, but doesn't have tons of experience, but already first 2 calls looks like he's going to be very aggressive calling strikes.
He might not have been expected to be here tonight. He might have already scheduled a flight. Ricky Weeks down on 3 pitches, and we are underway. Brian Knight has the balls and strikes tonight. Tim Cheetah, the crew chief at first. Bob Davidson and Tim Timmons rounding out your umpiring crew. So Weeks has struck out for the 180th time this year. Now Ryan Braun hitting second in the order. Braun 2 for 8 in this series. Has been on quite a tear the last 2 months, hitting .376 over his last 51 games. He starts the night 8th in the National League in batting and 2nd in base hits with 186 hits. The Brewers have been a fine offensive team this year. They're 4th in the National League in runs scored, 2nd in home runs. But they find themselves 8 games under 500 under Ken Maka, who's finishing out his 2nd year as Brewers skipper.
And not a very good division, too. You've got a couple weak sisters in that division. The Pirates, of course, who've lost 100. Houston, who came on strong in the second half, but had a miserable start. It's not a real. I think it's the weakest of all the divisions in the National League. I don't think,
especially with the Cubs, as disappointing as they've been.
Yep. And St. Louis collapsed, and
Casey McGee on deck. G behind in the count 2-0, and Braun takes a fastball for a strike. Remember what G said last night as you look at the National League Central Division standings, with the Reds having clinched their first division crown in 15 years. Remember what G said to Kevin Burkhardt last night during that interview. He said, you come to the major leagues and you think you can't throw the ball over the plate against any of these big hitters, that it's always going to leave the yard.
You almost feel like you have to, some pitchers feel like you have to elevate your stuff. What you've done in AAA, you've got to take it up a notch to be able to be successful here. That is not true. You have to execute your pitches. You just have to do it more often, be more consistent, and you're not going to get away with a mistake.
And even when you do, you still have to be able to trust yourself. And I think in his last start, G gave up that bomb to Ryan Howard in the first inning. He was able to absorb that, settle back in, and pitch a gem of a game.
You know, you don't know what Dylan's going to do on this level, but I will tell you, he is ready to have good seasons because he didn't let that affect him. Still throws strikes.
3-2 to Braun, and it's just outside, and Braun draws a 1-out walk.
Well, it's all about when you get called up, and particularly when you're younger, if you're in your early 20s, you know, it's only natural that you don't feel like, gosh, here I am, I've made it. And all of a sudden, instead of watching these guys on TV, here I am, I'm not only rubbing elbows against them, I'm pitching against them. It takes a while to get the feeling that, hey, I belong.
So here's McGee, who's been stuck on 99 RBIs. 1 for 10 in this series, hitting .284 for the year. Been a breakout season for McGee in his second season. And
HD struggling with the strike zone right now, 1-0.
Well, the planes are taking off.
A few of them, anyway.
Yeah.
There were massive airport delays earlier, but the rain has stayed away now for the better part of the day.
We're playing 9.
Oh, yeah.
We're in.
I mean, looking at the latest radar projections, we're not going to see a drop of rain tonight.
Really?
During the game. I mean, it poured.
Might need an arc to get
morning.
home
Yeah.
after the game, but
hopefully it'll hold off long enough. They got drenched down to the south of us, down in Maryland.
North Carolina got pounded.
Reyes got rained out tonight.
2-0 pitch trying to come inside. Very interesting choice of pitches. 2-0. McGee, really a pull hitter and trying to come inside and missed.
See if McGee's turned loose on 3-0 with Fielder on deck. And he does hit one on the ground right to Reyes. Tejada with the turn for the 6-4-3 double play. So McGee desperate for that RBI, swinging 3-0. A great result for G. No score. Left-hand batting outfielders are in the lineup because of the absence of Beltran and Evans. Nick Evans was feeling much better today. We've not gotten results of his MRI yet after hurting his left shoulder last night, but he's sitting out tonight. Jose Reyes sitting at 287, and Narveson throws an off-speed pitch, and it's 0-2.
Well, Narveson, you can see by his numbers, only pitcher in the major leagues with at least 10 wins, a winning record, despite that 5.14 ERA.
That's being in the right place at the right time.
Why not?
It's got a very odd little delivery, doesn't it?
Sure does.
It reminds me a little of Mahalam from the Pittsburgh
Yes.
Pirates. Throws across his body, very kind of like a catcher, throws right from his ear. Has a little fastball, a little cutter to go with that changeup. Real slow curveball, too.
Hit him. Did it hit him?
No, I think it came off the bat. At least that's what the home plate umpire is signaling. Right off the knob.
Right off the knob.
Yep. Jose trying to pull a Jeter.
He didn't fake it very well.
No, he didn't. Jose, you got to let it go. Don't be self-conscious. Just let it act the role. Come on, method acting.
It's method acting.
Jerry Manuel coming over to try and sell it to the home plate umpire Brian Knight, but Reyes was not having any part of it.
It's a too little, too late.
Oh, that's a song.
I think the best thing for a manager in that instance, go up to the player. Did it hit you in the hand? Yes or no? Once he says no, you walk off the field. Right off the end of the bat.
Reyes might have said yes after the fact, but he didn't sell it.
You have to remember, though, a lot of the players have that left hand down over the knob of the bat. So it not only catches wood, but also catches part of your hand.
With that little finger down there.
Yeah.
How about those San Francisco Giants? I tell you what, Arizona's been playing a spoiler, too, and they took care of Arizona 2 in a row.
Back to Narveson. And he makes the play on Reyes, one away.
The Coors Light defense, Braun, Kane, Hart in the outfield. See, Weeks, 15 errors. It's not a strong defensive ball club here. Fielder, Escobar, McGee, and Lucroy round out the infield. How about those Giants?
Would you say, Gary, 3 home runs they had today?
Sandoval, Torres,
and Posey.
And then Posey at the 2-run shot that put the game away. Rookie Madison Bumgarner went 5 innings for the win. Jesus Feliciano takes a strike. Feliciano's had only 11 at-bats against left-hand pitching this year, 2 for 11. So a rare opportunity for him facing Narveson.
You know, everyone's assuming Hayward's going to win that hands down, that Rookie of the Year. I think that vote's going to be awfully close.
I agree with that. I mean, Posey has had a bigger impact on his team than Hayward has had on his. Of course, Hayward has the advantage of having been there all year.
So his numbers are going to be a little more, not inflated, but he had more chances.
Feliciano up the middle and a base hit. So Jesus with the hit off the left-hander. And the Mets have a 1-out base runner. And Angel Pagan will come to the plate. Angel 4 for 9 in this series. Getting a 291 for the year.
It's going to be hard, but one more big game by Angel, maybe get him to that 75 ribby mark. That would be a nice mark to get for a guy who hits mostly a lot in the leadoff role early in the year in the 2-hole.
Pagan watches fastball for a strike.
This young pitcher, Narveson, just the opposite of the Santana. Does not use any of his lower body, kind of just stands nice and tall and kind of a dart thrower.
Pagan chases one up and away.
Ball's supposed to be in. Sometimes when you're a pitcher, you miss your spot, you're rewarded.
So now Angel finds himself in a 2-strike hole. Chris Narveson out of Asheville, North Carolina. Originally drafted by the Cardinals 10 years ago, a 2nd-round pick.
It's their minor league team, the Tourists.
Asheville Tourists, playing in McCormick Field in Asheville, North Carolina. David Wright getting cleanup tonight, waiting on deck. Narveson was bounced from the Cardinals organization to the Rockies, and they let him go, and the Cardinals got him back. And finally was picked up by Milwaukee a couple of winters ago.
He was one of those guys thrown in the big Larry Walker trade when Walker went to St. Louis.
Getting his first full-time chance as a starting pitcher this year, making his 28th start. And Pagan bloops one into shallow left center. That'll fall for a base hit. Then on a hop by Kane, that'll hold Feliciano at second base. And so back-to-back 1-out singles for Feliciano and Pagan have the table set.
Well, that was that slow curveball that we talked about before. The Angel didn't stay completely back out on that front foot, but had enough left to dump it in there. And defensively, you can see Kane, who has a lot of speed in center field, just could not get to that baseball.
So now David Wright, who has 5 home runs in his last 8 games. Yesterday reached the 100 RBI plateau, and in the second game last night played in his 1,000th career game. Now he's officially a veteran.
Is that what it is, 1,000 games?
No. Curveball from Narveson for a strike. Inside pitch on Chris Narveson, brought to you by the Xerox business of baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
Well, excellent changeup. That's the pitch. If he's going to have a big game, he's got to be able to get over. He wins 11 despite that 5.14 ERA. And when you watch this kid hit, he is one of the best hitting pitchers in the National League.
Well, I got to think that Narveson gets by with, if he didn't have the funky motion, the funky delivery, he might be meat and potatoes. But I think that he's not overpowering, and his deception and his delivery helps him with his off-speed stuff and moving the ball in and out and as such.
Yeah, his problem is the ball's been up so far. He's got to be down in the strike zone.
0-2 to David, and that's up and away. That's the first time all of these Mets are getting to see Chris Narveson.
Reminds me a little bit of a pitcher that started with them this season, Doug Davis. The same kind of pitcher. Kind of a funky windup, throws across his body, doesn't use a lot of leg action.
Really?
Throws off that stiff front leg.
I'll say. And that's why, there's a curve. That's probably why he has a hard time keeping the ball down, Ron.
Yeah, it does. As soon as that leg hits, it kind of moves you backwards. And once it moves you backwards and your shoulders open up, that ball is always going to be up in the strike zone.
But that stiff front leg helps you get more bite on the curveball.
That's why he has a very short stride. That's why he has a good curveball.
Narveson, 28 years old. Looking for his 12th win of the year. 1-2 to right, and it gets by Lucroy, and that'll move the runners to second and third. Jonathan Lucroy couldn't close the 5-hole.
It's got to be a wild pitch.
It is a wild pitch. It hit the plate, so it skipped on Lucroy. But one of the things when you're a catcher, if you're going to call a 1-2 change up to right, where do you think he's going to throw the pitch? He wants to bounce that ball and get David to swing at a bad pitch. You have to anticipate that, but again, hits the plate, that always makes it skip.
Brewers will keep the infield back. 2-2 the count to right with second and third and one out. And David watches high 3-2 with Mike Hessman hitting fifth in the order tonight, waiting on deck. Now, if you're Chris Narveson, you got David Wright, who's a .350 hitter against lefties at the plate, and you got Mike Hessman standing on deck, first base open. You don't want to throw a strike here, do you?
Well, you don't mind throwing. You want to throw a changeup, maybe pitch backwards. Use your breaking pitch maybe to get out of this inning. I don't think you want to groove a fastball. There we go.
And it's on the outside corner, and Wright is caught looking on the curve. There's a big second out for Chris Narveson.
Back door. It's as good as it gets. David did not see one of those for a strike until it got to 3-2.
160 strikeouts now for Wright as it extends his club record. So now 2 out, and it's left to Mike Hessman. Hessman getting a rare start, just the 9th game or the 10th game he started for the Mets this year. 7 for 47, getting a $149. Hessman tore it up in AAA this year, something he's been familiar doing. Over 300 minor league home runs, but has never been able to find his mojo at the major league level, and this year has been no exception. He's been here for a long time, though.
Yeah, but he has
over 2 months in the major.
Like you said, it's his 10th start. He's got to find an opportunity like a Jack Custard in Oakland, where he gets 500 at bats. I don't know where he's going to get that, but he's got to be with a team that has that need, lets him play, and then he'll have an opportunity to see what he can do power-wise in the major leagues.
Well, either that or he's going to be a right-handed bat off the bench for somebody, but so far he hasn't proven that he can thrive in that pinch hitting role.
Or work with Igarashi and Takahashi and learn Japanese, because he could go and play in that league, right? Love the power hitters.
Pulled down to third base, and McGee has got it. And that retires the side. So the Mets get 2 in scoring position and leave them there after 1, no score. By Hornitos 100% pure agave tequila. Hornitos reminds you to drink responsibly. Visit hornitostequila.com today.
A little light on the salt, please, in that margarita.
Like salt or no salt?
I like just a pinch.
Yeah, a little bit of salt. Don't want
Just a
to
pinch. I don't want to retain weight with the water. Salt makes you retain water.
Wedge of lime?
Can't have that.
You want a wedge of lime in there?
The bulging waistline.
Maybe you can have the salt and just cut out the ice cream. Prince Fielder leads off in the second inning.
We're getting silly.
And the Mets put on the major shift against Fielder, who has 3 RBIs in this series. 83 runs batted in for the year. There's the overshift.
It's a fascinating shot of that overshift. Very plain to see.
But unlike some hitters, when you play that shift like a Ryan Howard, where the outfielders are playing straight up, everyone is shifted over.
Two and one to Fielder with Corey Hart and Lorenzo Cain to follow here in the second. Fielder wearing that big pad on that right elbow. He gets hit a lot. 21 times this year he's gotten plunked, which is second in the league behind his teammate Ricky Weeks. Well, what is it about the Brewers that make people want to hit them with so many pitches?
Could it be when they hit a home run, they stand at the plate for 10 seconds? Could it be that?
People still get hit for that?
I don't know.
And the curveball from G is down 3-2. I mean, in your career, when a guy would admire his home runs, was it automatic that he'd get hit?
They wouldn't do it. Guys, very, very rarely did you have a guy admire their home run. I mean, that's why Dale Murphy was one of my favorite players. Even though I pitched against him and he probably took me deep a few times, when he hit a home run off you, it was like, oh shucks, I'm sorry, and he just sprint around the bases like nothing happened.
He was a class act.
Class act.
And Fielder takes high, ball 4. So G's faced 4 batters and walked 2 of them. That's unusual for him. And the Brewers have the leadoff man on in the second. And Corey Hart coming up.
You watch the most prodigious home run hitters in the day. Mike Schmidt put his head down, run around the bases.
Yeah, he didn't hot dog it around. Well, then there was Willie Montañez.
Well, I didn't pitch against him, so I don't know.
No one hit him.
And why not?
It wasn't done, but he didn't do that with Bob Gibson. He didn't do that trot around the outfield grass just practically right with Bob. When he went on Bob.
So Montañez became one of those guys like, oh, it's Willie. I mean, you know, you kind of gave him a pass because it was that was his game.
Because everybody loved him. He was such a character. He was just a piece of work. Willie Montañez.
Hart with 31 home runs, 99 RBIs. So the Brewers have Braun with 102 RBIs, McGee with 99, and Hart with 99. Last time the Brewers had 3 players with 100 RBIs. That was a year that Keith remembers well, the 1982 edition of the Brewers.
That was a very good team.
Harvey's Wallbangers.
They came into Busch Stadium, and it was our advantage at Busch Stadium with our speed in the big ballpark. Their outfield defense, they had Ogilvie in left. They had Charlie Moore in right. He was their best outfielder. And Gorman Thomas in center. They couldn't cover the ground in Old Busch Stadium with the turf.
Charlie Moore was a catcher.
That's right.
2-1 to Hart. He bounced it foul.
I never could watch that team because as I was like 12 years old then, they traded Cecil Cooper for George Boomer Scott. And because they said Cooper will never be able to pull the ball at Fenway Park, so he'll never hit home runs. He would have hit about 370 though off that wall because that's the kind of hitter he was.
He had 351s one year for the Brewers. Pop foul, backing out play. That team could hit from top to bottom. They had Rob Deere on that team too, didn't they? Or did he come along later?
Later. They had second baseman Ron Gant.
Jim Gantner.
Jim Gantner.
Robin Yount.
Brown, Molitor, gosh.
Was Simba behind the plate?
Simba was behind the plate. Ted Simmons.
George Scott playing first base?
No, Cecil
Cooper.
He had almost that MVP year.
Line toward the gap in left center. Pagan gets over, cuts it off. On to third goes Fielder, but Pagan will hold hard to a single. Nicely done by Angel Pagan. But the Brewers have first and third and nobody out. First hit off Dylan G.
Nice fastball right there, jumped on by Hart. Yes, Ben Ogilvy was on that team, left fielder. He had a home run off Joaquin Andujar in Game 7. Gave the Brew Crew an early lead. Ooh.
Harvey Keene, the manager of the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers.
There's Ogilvy. Robin Yount, of course, the Hall of Famer.
He was the MVP that year.
And there's the Hall of Famer Molitor. Cecil Cooper. Good hit. Good first baseman, too. Gorman Thomas. Struck out a lot, but very dangerous hitter.
Now you realize there are, as Kane grounds one to third, Wright holds the runner and makes the play to first. Kane is retired. Hart moves up to second base. There's Bob Uecker, who was broadcasting for the Brewers then as now, and it's good to see Uecker in the pink of health, coming back from heart surgery earlier this year.
It's good to see him, because when you go to Milwaukee, it's hard to find him. You know, he does his broadcasts in his windows. He's got them all newspapered up so you can't see inside the booth.
He's a big guy.
He must get bothered. He's very famous.
Very, very big in Milwaukee. Here's Alcides Escobar with 2 in scoring position and 1 out. I was going to say, it might strike some of our younger viewers as odd, as thinking, wait a second, the Brewers played the Cardinals in the World Series. How did that work?
That's right.
Well, of course, the Brewers were an American League team they actually came into existence as the Seattle Pilots, an expansion team in 1969, played 1 year in Seattle, and then right before the 1970 season moved to Milwaukee and became the Brewers. And we're in the American League from 1970 through 1997, and then moved to the National League in 1998.
Of course, that Seattle Pilot franchise was made famous because of Ball 4, and Jim Bouton wrote that book and was trying to make his comeback with the Seattle Pilots.
As a knuckleball pitcher.
Right.
The only person I remember from that Pilot team was Don Money. He was their third baseman in those days.
Well, the favorable guy in that book was the coach. Was it Schultz?
Joe Schultz.
Joe Schultz.
He was the manager.
Right. And the character he was, of old Cardinal.
Yeah, Gary Bell on the pitching staff.
Gary Bell, Cleveland Indians, Boston Red Sox.
Lou Piniella was on that team.
Was he?
And Escobar hits one down to third, and Wright lets it skip on by. That'll score the first run of the game as Fielder comes in. David Wright's been playing balls like that off to the side all year, and a couple of times it costs him, and this was one of those occasions.
Well, in David's defense, that was a tougher chance for him to get in front. He'd have had to have a terrific jump and good lateral movement to get his body in front of that ball. But I agree with you, Gary. I do not believe in this philosophy that you got bigger gloves, you can backhand or throw the ball off to the side. He could have got in front of that ball.
He scored a base hit for Escobar and his 41st RBI. So 1-0 Milwaukee. Now runners at the corners with 1 out for John Lucroy, the catcher. Lucroy at 259, and he takes the fastball in tight from G.
Lucroy had a good first game the other day. Yesterday, it should be, not the other day. Went the other way, Ron. Hit a lot of line drives to right field.
So did all the Brewers hitters off in the East, didn't
they?
Yes, they did. They really had a game plan.
They were sitting on the outside corner on him.
Pitcher Narveson, as Ronnie noted, an outstanding hitter waiting on deck. G falling behind in the count more often than he'd like. 2-0 to Lucroy, and he misses inside, ball 3.
That pitch inside is the one he's missing the most consistently, trying to throw that sinker down and in to get a ground ball.
He's already walked 2. He also fell behind McGee 3-0 in the first inning before McGee grounded into an inning-ending double play. See if Lucroy's turned loose on 3-0 with the pitcher on deck. And he swings 3-0. This time David makes the backhand pick. Out at second. Tejada to first. Not in time as a run comes home. 2-0 Milwaukee.
I have seen, that's a nice backhand by David. He does the right thing going for 2. There's nice base running to score by Escobar. Watch him hold. He can come down a little further. You want to come as far away from third base as the third baseman is. I can see the Mets on a lot of the ground balls at third base late in this year, Gary. That balls hit hard and they can't turn a double play. They can't turn it.
And where do you see
maybe a little extra movement in the little release point and getting the exchange?
You're talking about for Tejada or
no,
for Wright?
For Wright. Well, David's thrown a couple of lollipops over there underhanded, and that was a good throw, strong throw right there. But a ball hit that hard, and David playing in, you got to turn that.
Narveson pulls one toward the hole. Tejada can't make the play, and Narveson is aboard with an infield hit, and the inning continues. For Chris Narveson, his 16th hit, and he continues to hit well over 300.
Well, that's a play that you'll see Ruben Tejada make hopefully 99 times out of 100. When it skips over that little from the dirt to the infield grass, kind of took his eye off it a little and just got underneath his glove.
Dan Warthen, who has returned to the ball club after missing a couple of games following the death of his brother Dave.
Now, the Tejada play, what you have to always know is know your customer. Pitcher's running there. You're going to have a little extra time. You don't have to rush it. You can almost take an angle that brings you a little deeper into the outfield, further away from the plate, but you'll always have time to throw the runner out at first, unless it's Travis Wood, maybe from Cincinnati, a pitcher who can really run.
A leadoff walk, 3 hits, only one of which left the infield. 2 runs have scored. 2 are aboard for Ricky Weeks, who has 82 RBIs out of a leadoff spot. Struck out his first time up tonight. And first pitch swinging, hits a dribbler. They'll never throw him out. And now the bases are loaded. Well, they couldn't have rolled it out there any better. And Ricky Weeks has himself a fortunate hit to fill him up for Ryan Braun.
Well, nothing you can do there. That ball off the end of the bat. We saw yesterday's game, Hart, in the second game, first game, get that big roller down the third base line.
The Brewer fans were sporting the old school logo.
There's not even any brats here.
Did you? I know. I knew it for years. I never knew that old logo, that Brewer logo, was MB on the glove.
It looks like a hand.
Yeah,
right.
And you can see the M on top and the B with the baseball in the circle. I've never realized that for the longest time.
I can understand why. Ryan Braun swings and misses. Braun walked his first time up. By the way, our statistician Dave Freed points out Lou Piniella never actually played for the Seattle Pilots. He was traded right before the season to Kansas City, where he then won Rookie of the Year in 1970 for the Royals.
It's one of Dave's great joys, proving us wrong.
Oh, he does it all the time. That's easy.
But Dave's very strange.
Strange.
Would you like to elaborate? I guess not. And Braun lifts one down the right field side. Feliciano over and grabs it right before he gets to the railing. Caught it in foul territory to end the inning. 2-run score. Brewers leave them loaded 2-0. from one of the stands here at Citi Field, or stop by a location near you. Subway, a proud sponsor of the New York Mets on SNY. Eat fresh. Lucas Duda will take aim at that Subway sign as he leads off in the bottom of the second.
Love it when the cavalry comes.
And Duda takes a strike. Duda's had just 11 at-bats against left-hand pitching, 2 for 11. Mike Nickius and Ruben Tejada to follow. Chris Narveson stake to a 2-0 lead. And comes inside to Duda, 1-1. They have gone to the 4th inning in San Diego. The Padres and Cubs no score. An absolutely desperate must-win situation now for San Diego, with the Giants winning again today. Giants now 2.5 games up on the Padres. The Braves a game and a half up on San Diego for the wild card. Atlanta's off today before finishing up their season with the Phillies. And Duda strikes out. Second strikeout for Narveson. 1 out in the second. John Garland pitching to the Padres today against Tom Gorzelani.
Just got pretty good curve right there. Got him out in front.
These 2 strikeouts have both been on the curveball.
I think I'd have to look for the ball away on this guy if I was hitting off to him.
Especially when he didn't get the call inside, right?
Maybe in the high weeds, looking for that little breakage.
Here's Mike Nickius making his 3rd career start. Yesterday started the first game of the doubleheader and got his first 2 major league hits. Nickius, born in England, grew up in Canada, in Vancouver, where his dad was a professional soccer player for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now lives in California, where his dad also played for the San Jose Earthquakes of the old North American Soccer League. Quite the sporting family.
That wasn't during the Shinalia days, right? It's after that, right? I forget, these kids are so young, you know?
Oh, I remember the Shinalia days,
right? It's not a red wine. It's a soccer player.
Swing and a miss, and so back-to-back strikeouts for Narveson as he gets Nickius. 2 out in the inning. Well, there was a time in the late 70s when soccer all of a sudden became all the rage in this town.
That's right. The Cosmos,
KLA and Beckenbauer and Canalia and Eskandarian. I mean, they had a team of all-stars. 75,000 plus at Giant Stadium. It didn't last very long. It became the in place, though, for a very short period of time. 2 out and nobody on. Here's Ruben Tejada hitting a .205. Ruben 3 for 9 in this series.
Started with 2 changeups. Interesting pitch selection there by Narveson.
And now it's 3-0 with the pitcher G waiting on deck. Too high, ball 4. So Tejada walks on 4 pitches.
How does that happen, Ronnie? 2 straight strikeouts.
Lost,
you're walking 8-hitter.
Lost concentration.
Live out your Mets fantasy. Suit up with Mets legends who never walked anybody, and take to the field at the Mets fantasy camp this January in Port St. Lucie. Get to the phone at 718-565-4376 or visit Mets.com/fantasy camp today. Here's Dylan G. Who's 2 for 10. in his brief big league career. And he takes a strike. So when you hang out with legends, all they did was hit home runs and strike people out.
The older you get, the better you work.
Exactly. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Respect your elders and all that. 0-2 to G. Our eyes are much more demanding than our memories.
That's right.
And G strikes out on a pitch in the dirt. Lucroy makes the toss. Narveson fans 3 in the inning. And he takes himself a 2-0 lead into the third here at Citi Field. Think will represent the American League in the World Series? You know, which 4 teams will be in the postseason in the American League? So will it be A, the Rays, B, the Twins, C, the Rangers, or D, the Yankees? Text 57508 or visit SNY.TV to cast your vote.
This is going to be very interesting to see.
Well, you have to remember who your audience is.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I can't wait.
Well, who would you expect to win the American League?
Well, that's a tough call. That's a tough call. It's a tough call because the Yankees pitching, or lack of starting pitching right now, has thrown a whole new. It's changed it up considerably.
I would have said if Justin Morneau were going to be healthy, and he might be. I know he's working out today and tomorrow, and they're hoping, but you know, still he hasn't faced big league pitching in 2 months. If he were healthy and ready to go, I would pick the Twins. But without that, I'd have to say the Rays.
You've got the big bat in Texas now with the cracked ribs. You know, there's a lot. I'm not hot on Texas, so it's going to come out of the East.
The only way that the Rangers can do it, well, there's a couple things. One, Josh Hamilton, who hasn't played in a while, is going to have to be healthy with his cracked ribs, and Cliff Lee's going to have to be perfect. He's going to have to win every single game he starts.
Like he did last year.
And then they have a shot.
Well, you know what's we haven't mentioned?
Driven toward right center off the bat of McGee, and that one will go all the way back to the wall. So Casey McGee cruises into second base with his 37th double of the year, and Dylan G has another leadoff base runner to deal with here in the third.
I just think it's imperative and we didn't talk about it, was that Minnesota's 1 game behind having the best record. I think if Minnesota gets a home field record, you never know. I think for them to go forward and get into the next bracket, get through the first round, I think they've got to have home field advantage.
Well, unlike the National League, where you've got a couple of teams like the Phillies and the Giants who can throw out 3 aces in a first-round series. There's no team like that in the American League. I mean, Texas has got Lee, and the Yankees have Sabathia, and the Rays have Price, but nobody's got a top 3 like the Phillies and Giants do, or like the Braves do either.
Very few of them have a strong 2. Forget about having 3.
Well, for a long time, the American League always was stealing the best National League players, and now the National League stole one of the American League top players in Halladay.
Tejada throws out fielder for the first out, a productive out, moving McGee over to third.
What's going to be interesting for right now, if the playoffs started, the Yankees would be playing at Minnesota. And if they play Minnesota, who they've beat up on the past few postseasons, the difference might be is that the Twins are going to start Liriano and Dunsing, 2 left-handers in the first 3 games. And the Yankees against left-handed starters have lost 9 straight now.
Here's Corey Hart with the infield in. Well, if you're Joe Girardi, who are you pitching in games 2 and 3?
Yeah, well, that's the hard question. Right now, you might start Phil Hughes in game 2 and not Burnett. Andy Pettit just depends. Now his back has flared up a little bit to go along with all the games he missed because of that strained groin. How healthy is he going to be? And if he is healthy, how many innings do you get from him? He'll be a 5-inning pitcher.
Right, which puts a ton of pressure on their bullpen.
And their bullpen is really solid late, not so solid in the middle.
Well, I mean, Robertson, Wood, Rivera. I think you can trust all 3 of them. I'm not sure who beyond that. Nova will be in the bullpen, I assume.
I would agree. I think Vasquez is not going to make the postseason roster.
Canny off what he did last night and what he's done all season. Hard with the emergency hack, fouls it off.
Boy, that's hanging on by a fingernail there.
Texas has all that hitting. Tampa Bay's got that advantage because they play in the garage there down in St. Pete.
Yeah, if anybody shows up without free tickets.
I did some postseason games there. They show up for the postseason games.
Well, that's, a lot of people said, the reason people weren't showing up, they were saving their money for the postseason games. But stopped by Nickius showing off his ups to save a wild pitch and a run. Back to G, and they've got the runner coming home. Well, McGee breaking on contact. White puts on the tag. Hart holds at first. So McGee running on contact, but on a ball back to the mound, you're not supposed to run on contact, are you?
Well, it's a hard read. I mean, for a guy like McGee who doesn't run particularly fast, you're trying to get that great jump, so if it's hit on the ground, you're going. So and once he gets that going, it's really hard for him to stop his momentum.
And a nicely executed rundown. You don't want to allow the runner that's running hard to first base to get to second base in scoring position.
1-2-5 on the fielder's choice, so 2 out and a runner at first for Lorenzo Cain, who grounded out to third his first trip.
So that was a RBI situation for Corey Hart right there to drive in 100 runs. He's on 99, and he blew it.
What if he doesn't get another chance?
If he ends the season 99, he's going to be hot.
You're hot for him. It's interesting though if you're Dan Worthen and staff and you're looking at Dylan G. Just a small microcosm, but that was a good thing to watch, right? It got runner on third base. He really pounded Hart in with a lot of fastballs, trying to get the broken bat and got that little chip back to him.
Well, keep an eye on Peskin on the run down here. Now you've got a runner coming to first. I'm not so happy about vacating first base because now Hart has got freedom to go and not have anybody throw behind him. So I'm a little reluctant as a first baseman to come in there. It's up to the pitcher to back up in that situation.
I think
which G did.
Yes, and G was in proper position, though. I think what happens in today's game, though, is they always want a fielder to try to get the pitcher out of the way. And I think that's what Hessman was trying to do. But G knows what he's doing out there defensively.
And as long as you have Reyes at second, there's really no danger of him wandering too far, is there?
No. I never vacated first base in that situation with the runner. I anchored myself at first.
Kane hits one out to left center, and Duda moves over and puts it away to end the inning. So a leadoff double, but the Brewers do not score. Middle of the third, 2-0 Milwaukee. Jose Reyes will lead it off with the Mets down 2-0. Reyes had a comebacker leading off in the first inning. Mets got runners to second and third with one out in the first, but couldn't score. And Chris Narveson then struck out 3 in the second. And Reyes with another comebacker. Nice play by Narveson to reach out and grab it. 2 1-3s on Reyes' line. 1 out. Let's go back to that rundown.
Okay. Here's the play in its beginning, its infancy here. Okay, the throw home. Reyes now has to get over and back up third. I don't like Hesman coming in, but check this out right here. Everybody forgets the outfielder. He can come in and sneak behind and back up. But I think the first baseman, let me clear that. First baseman stays anchored here. And then if it's a bad rundown and the runner, you read that the runner is halfway to second and he's going to get to second, then you come on down the line and cover home. That's if then it's poor fundies. You've had a really brutal rundown on the third base. But the Mets had a very snappy, crisp rundown. Snappy Tom.
Snappy Tom.
Key for you young people out there when you're in a rundown, always follow your throw. Makes it very simple. It'll always put you in position. Dylan G threw the ball to the catcher, you go to home plate. Very simple that way.
2-1 to Feliciano, who was the right fielder coming in toward first base on that play. Feliciano singled to center his first time up.
You know, the one problem you have to be worried about, though, if you're a center fielder, because the play after the rundown, if there's going to be a play, it's going to be at second base. Don't get too close, because what happens if it's a bad throw? It's going to go by you, and you're not going to be able to get to it. So you do want to come in, but you want to back up the second baseman or the second base, just like a pitcher backs up the base. Give you enough room if it's an errant throw, you can get to it.
Sometimes as fans, we focus so much on where the ball is, we don't concentrate so much on what everybody else's responsibility is. Ricky Weeks in front of Feliciano's ground ball for the second out, because it's like you always tell your kids, there's no such job on any play for any fielder called standing around and doing nothing.
Right.
You can always find something to do.
On that play, your left fielder's got to be backing up on the throws to third base.
I think one of the outfield or corner outfield positions can back up. Even center field on second base. They can get involved. And, you know, not because he's my friend, but Rusty Staub was one of the best at backing up when he played right field. And he actually prided himself on doing that.
There weren't too many things on the field that Rusty didn't have a great awareness of and do right. Now, he wasn't a fast runner, but he was a good base runner. He wasn't, you know, a fleet of foot in the outfield for most of his career, but he knew how to play. He was an outstanding outfielder.
Had a strong arm.
McGon grounds out. 1-2-3 inning for Narveson. 3 in the books. 2-0 Milwaukee. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt, whose report is sponsored by Absolute Vodka. Kevin?
You know, guys, I talked to Jose Reyes about, you know, second base next year and mainly about Ruben Tejada and what he's seen from him and most importantly, what their chemistry is like on the field. And he said, you know, we're comfortable with each other. We really are. You know, you get that sense that, you know, we just kind of have an idea what each other's doing. And for not playing together that often, that's a pretty good thing. You know, Jose really marveled at Tejada's defensive skill. I mean, his eyes were wide open when he said, you know, he does not feel to me like a guy that has been playing shortstop his whole career. Jose can't make that play on the tough hop. And, you know, Jose would know. I mean, he had to move to second base when the Mets signed Kazumatsu, and he said, you know, I just feel like his instincts are so good. And, you know, for me, when I made the switch to second base, I just had a hard time not seeing the run on the double play. But Tejada doesn't have a hard time. It's seamless to him, and Jose just really impressed. But I think the most important thing is he's comfortable. Now, the question is next year, if maybe it isn't Ruben Tejada, maybe it's someone else, how long do you guys think that chemistry takes to build where you can kind of trust the guy that's playing next to you out there?
That's a good question, Kevin. I think that of late, Jose has had to work with a lot of different second basemen. He seems to have a real good rapport with Tejada. How long? I think that it depends on the fielder. When you got a guy that has great instincts like Tejada, it doesn't take a long time. When you're playing with someone who's more of an offensive player and is defensively challenged, that's when the timing really gets upset.
Scored an infield hit for Alcides Escobar.
Bill Shannon, the official scorer. Bill, I disagree with you.
Well, that's 3 plays on the infield that could have been made. One by Wright, one by Tejada, and now one by Reyes, all not made to the detriment of Dylan G. All 3 were scored base hits.
I agree with the first 2. I disagree with the last one. I thought Reyes could have gotten in front of that ball. And I would have ruled it an error.
Lucroy drove in a run with a fielder's choice his first time up.
But, Bill, don't worry. I'm not trying for your job.
Okay,
You could do both.
We're just doing analysis here, Bill.
You could
we love you
here and do analysis and be the official scorer at the same time, if the league would let you. You could be the public address announcer too.
Really?
And probably you could sell hot dogs. We know you can buy them. We saw that last night.
Did you buy a hot dog yesterday? One for Gary, one for myself.
And he tipped very well.
Well, you know, those guys work hard. The vendors work hard. You know, it was a 4 o'clock start, and in the beginning of that game, there wasn't a whole lot of people here. So we were being very, what would be the word? Picking them up.
We were patronizing them.
Well, I got a better word. I can't think of it right now. Philanthropic. Very nice.
But it wasn't pure philanthropy. You got something out of the deal too. You got to chew a hot dog, and it was a really good hot dog too. Two and two to Lucroy. And he drives one out to right center field. Pagan on the dead run, and he gets there. Trying to get back to first now is Escobar, and Pagan's throw arrives just a shade too late. Fine play by Pagan, who's been doing it all year. One out.
Well, we love Pagan's lateral movement, and he's running a long way for this ball and tracks it down easily. And Escobar got a little bit too far out. That's just not under control, young man. You wasted all that energy. Will you have anything left in the tank in the 8th inning? We'll find out. It's 21. He will.
It's not like he's carrying the ball 35 times a game. Here's Narveson with one out and one on. He had an infield single off Tejada's glove his first time up. His 16th hit of the year. Runner goes, run and bunt. And G makes the play to first. I don't really understand that play.
Neither do I. Unless someone missed the sign, Gary.
Maybe Escobar was running on his own.
So he's going. Does he look back? No, he's straight stealing. Art Fern move. We got Tessman. That's 1-3 in your scorecard?
Yes. So runner in scoring position. Narveson with his 7th sacrifice of the year. And Ricky Weeks will try and get the run in. He has struck out and reached on an infield hit. They're going to the 6th inning now in San Diego. The Padres and Cubs still no score.
How many games has San Diego played like this season? Wow.
Well, last night, buoyed by Chris Young, the Padres came up with their 20th shutout victory of the year. One more than the Mets for the league lead.
Keith Bell with his 32nd straight save.
And he did it on his birthday.
Yep.
He turned 33 yesterday. 45 saves for the year for Bell. The entire San Diego bullpen has just been extraordinary.
Mike Adams, Gregerson. Who's the lefty in the pen? It's one guy, I can't remember his name.
Thatcher?
Yeah.
Tejada backs off to play the hop and throws out Weeks to end the inning. So G works around another leadoff hit. Keeps the score where it is, 2-0 Milwaukee with David Wright to lead off. Look for their third win as they finish their non-conference schedule against Vanderbilt at Rentschler Field. Vanderbilt at UConn. Coverage begins with City pregame Saturday at 11:30 a.m. on SNY. David Wright leads off the home fourth inning. David took a call, third strike, his first time up. And takes a fastball for a strike from Chris Narveson, who gave up back-to-back singles to Feliciano and Pagan in the first inning and no hits since. And he paints the outside corner and gets ahead 0-2. It'll be Wright, then Hessman and Duda for the Mets in the bottom of the fourth.
Oh. Go inside. Well, one thing about a big curveball is a difficult thing for the umpire is that where the guy catches it, it's really not where it crossed the plate.
Hook to shortstop. And Escobar throws out Wright. And 6 ground ball outs for Narveson to go with 4 strikeouts. He has not had a single outfield putout. Now Mike Hessman, who grounded out to third base his first time up.
Well, not a strike there, but Narveson has been outstanding. 12 of the 14 batters he's faced. First pitch strike. Great ratio. And I think you have to do that if you have the kind of repertoire that Narveson has.
That last foul ball was the closest that a ball's come to getting in this booth all year.
That's right.
In fact, in 2 years. We're tucked away. It's hard to reach us. Our own little alcove.
That's right.
Not far, but just difficult to find.
We could do the math of it. The chances of the ball coming back here. It'd be a
parabola.
Yeah. Speed.
It would take a special foul ball to find its way in here. It would have to take a couple of turns along the way. Those years in the radio and TV booth at Shea, 2 or 3 a year would find their way in.
How about the guys in the old Tiger Stadium?
Oh, well, there you had to bring your glove.
They got peppered.
You were so close in the booth at Tiger Stadium that you could hear the conversations at home plate. Wow. Ernie Harwell, when he was working in that booth in Detroit, used to put up a screen in front of him, because the ball just got back there so fast. But the few games that I got to work at Tiger Stadium, I always brought my glove.
Oh, really? Nice.
Just self-defense.
Keith can do it with his bare hand. He doesn't need a glove.
But not all of us are gifted like that.
Oh, look out.
Well, the fans from the upper deck tonight were invited to come down and join the lower deck. It's a little more dangerous than the lower deck.
It is.
That's good. It gives an opportunity for some folks who don't normally get to sit this close to get an up close and personal look at the game.
Yeah, get to, especially if they're on the Mets side, get to see the players. One of the things that you realize, sometimes you don't realize when you're in the upper tank, is how big some of these young men are.
Inside, ball 4, and Hessman's on with a 1-out walk. Second walk given up by Chris Narveson. The Brewers have given up the second most walks of any staff in the National League, and that's got to dismay Rick Peterson. It's Rick's first year with the Brewers. It's going to be very interesting to see as they go forward whether they can make the kind of improvements that Rick is always very attuned to, particularly working down in the strike zone.
Well, there's a one thing gotta like about Rick Peterson. No one puts more hard work into his theories and what he thinks are important to be successful at this level. The only problem you have is that, can your pitchers retain it quickly? And can they retain it within a year? Because, you have a situation in Milwaukee, like many teams, that they're going to have to make some coaching decisions at the end of the year.
Duda drives one toward the gap in right center field, and that's going to go all the way to the wall. Hessman digging for third as Kane bobbles the carom. Hessman will score easily. Lucas Duda with an RBI double, and it cuts the Brewers' lead to 2-1. Another hard hit, extra base hit for Lucas Duda.
Little cutter, it went right down and got it. Stayed in, that's the critical thing. Very strong line drive hitter. That is his 6th double of the year.
Mike Hessman, safe at home, safe and secure. New York life. Lucas Duda now has 68 major league at bats. He has 9 extra base hits. Just as a comparison, David Wright has 577 at bats this year. He's got 67 extra base hits, which is in the top 10 in the league. So Duda's on an outstanding pace. Mike Nikias swings through the fastball, and it's 0-2.
When I was with Oakland, they had a young kid come up, play third base. He plays Carney Lansford. And I said, boy, what an outstanding swing. I'll say the same thing about Duda. It's very similar to that swing. And that was Jason Giambi when he first came up.
There's your PPG Pittsburgh Paint overhead camera looking at Nikias, who takes the breaking ball low and inside. Well, we mentioned it when Duda first came up. He has a little facial resemblance to Jason Giambi.
And of course, the great size that Lucas has. But really has that kind of quick but great core strength swing that gets through that baseball. Just it's a really fine swing to watch.
Narveson had 1 and 2. And the curveball poked foul. Ruben Tejada, the number 8 hitter, waiting on deck. Mets have a run home here in the 4th, trailing 2-1. Now the 1-2, and Nikias goes down swinging on the fastball. Second time in a row he's been struck out. That's 5 tonight for Narveson.
Oh, high fastball, right? Plenty of plate.
So 2 out in the inning. Duda's still at second. Here's Ruben Tejada. Let's see if they pitch to him. With first base open. Looks like they're going to give him an intentional pass and bring Dylan G to the plate. Yep. Well, I saw who play waggle 4 fingers. I guess not. So they will pitch to Tejada. With Duda at second. Ruben has 15 runs batted in, hitting just 105 with runners in scoring position.
First 2 pitches to Tejada in his first at bat, both changeups. Again, starts him with a changeup in this at bat. I'll tell you right now, if I was a pitcher and gave up a hit in an RBI situation with 8th hitter on a changeup, I'd want to strangle myself. He's got good enough stuff to spot that fastball. And the curve is his second best pitch, at least tonight.
You think the fact that the Brewers in the course of this series have seen Tejada drive a few balls has made a difference in the way they've pitched him?
Oh yeah, I think that what they've seen is because he hit first pitch fastball off Axford for that game-winning hit. So now the book is you cannot throw him a fastball first pitch. That's baloney. You can still throw a fastball, just better location. I think John Axford would tell you that if he had made a better pitch down to Tejada, certainly not going to hit a double off.
Well, Narveson has thrown 7 pitches to Tejada in 2 at-bats and has yet to throw him a strike.
Sometimes I think that in today's game they outthink themselves. They just, I want to face the pitcher. To me, you got a guy hitting 210 up there. Go get him. I want the pitcher leading off.
And have an out in the next inning. First out.
There's ball 4, and he will face G. So 2 4-pitch walks for Tejada tonight. That's the 3rd one given up by Narveson. And so G will bat with 2 men on. Dillon has 1 run batted in. That came his first start for the Mets. Tying run at second with 2 down as we play in the bottom of the 4th. And the curveball drops in for a strike, 0-1. Brewers are going to Cincinnati after the game tonight, while the Mets stay home to play Washington over the weekend.
And let me tell you something. You don't think the Brewers weren't sweating it out here with this inclement weather? That the word was that the weather was going to move its way east, and they would have had a hard time getting out of New York to get to Cincinnati.
Well, there are no guarantees depending on when this game ends. That's playing at its current pace. They might run into some trouble after all. 0-2 to G, and he takes the breaking ball down.
Full-time bus trip, Keith. Bus it to Cincinnati.
Oh, how many hours is that?
That's
10 hours?
10 hours,
That'd
maybe?
be like a Texas league. That was Little Rock to Amarillo. Oh, brutal.
It was brutal.
And then Amarillo, however, the left field fence in the old stadium, they had the stockyards where they slaughtered the cattle. And if the wind blew in from left field, you took batting practice, the flies, they'd take big bites out of you in BP. Oh, gosh. And the smell, too. You can imagine the smell.
I can only imagine.
Oh, I'll never forget that. Tarantulas in Midland, Odessa came on the field, and the mercury vapor lights grabbed the field. Around 10 tarantulas came on the field. And the grounds crew had to come out with rakes, and these tarantulas were jumping off. They're chasing them off the field. I go, where? I got to go up in California. There's no bugs. You're like, where am I?
This is big league baseball.
Am I in a foreign country?
That's where the expression comes in. That's why they call it the minor leagues. G is down looking, and the inning is over. Let's get a run and leave 2-1 Milwaukee. Who are the only two Mets players to lead the team in runs for 4 or more seasons. Two Mets who led the team in runs for 4 seasons or more.
Okay.
Chew on that. Ryan Braun will lead off for the Brewers in the 5th inning against Dylan G. Milwaukee with a 2-1 lead. They got both their runs in the 2nd. RBIs by the 7 and 8 hitters, Escobar and Lucroy.
Our favorite number 1's got to be a candidate, huh? Maybe?
I would think so.
In the dark days?
The guy right now is a candidate.
Yes, absolutely. Tommy Agee played long enough?
No. He got here in 68 and he was gone by 72.
Pretty maxed out with Thomas. Who'd they trade for him? They get him from the White Sox.
That's a really good question. That's one for Dave Freed to look up. He actually started out with Cleveland, didn't he? And then went to the White Sox before the Mets got him.
I know the Mets traded Ken Boyer to the White Sox.
Mets made some shrewd deals to build that 69 team. They got Jerry Grody from the Astros.
Really? Wow.
Is it Tom Sturdivant, maybe?
Who was the number 1 catcher for the Astros? They're able to give Jerry Grody up.
Johnny Edwards?
Maybe, yeah.
Mets got Agee and Al Weiss in the same deal for the White Sox. For Buddy Booker, don't remember him. Washed up Tommy Davis, washed up Jack Fisher, and Billy Wynn. So,
okay, good deal.
2 important players. I mean, Weiss was a backup player for most of the season, but had a huge World Series for the Mets. 1-2 to Braun, misses away, 2-2.
And who was the GM of that built that team for the Mets season?
Johnny Murphy built the team. Was he still the GM at that point, or was Bing Devine? 2-2 to Braun. Popped it up. Nikias. Wright comes in, but Nikias stays with it. Braun retired, 1 away. Get to Citi Field as the series with the Nationals begins tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. Tickets start at $15. Get your seats direct from the Mets at Mets.com.
What's pretty interesting about that is both the 69 team and the 86 team, the only 2 championships teams here, did a lot to put those teams together with some really interesting and kind of sexy trades. And going into the offseason here, of course, for these 2010 Mets, a lot of thought is going to have to go into thinking about trades, trying to acquire some players, and that's going to be interesting to see what they do.
He with a wild cut, 1-1. Let's see, George Weiss was the original general manager of the Mets.
I don't think Bing was here.
Bing came in 67, was only here for 1 year, and then Johnny Murphy took over 68, 69. So I'm not sure who actually made that Agee deal. Would have been one or the other. Deep toward the gap in left center. Long run for Pagan, and he runs down another one. Angel made one going to right center, now going to left center to take a hit away from McGee for the 2nd out.
This is the ball that was ticketed for the gap, and Angel Pagan made that look like a can of corn.
No.
Do you think that National League coaching staffs have seen enough of Angel Pagan that he'll get some Gold Glove votes this year?
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
He'll get some votes.
Prince Fielder rockets 1 foul. I mean, last year, who were the Gold Glovers? It was Shane Victorino.
Worth get a Gold Glove last year?
I don't think so.
So Victorino won 1.
I think we're missing an obvious guy.
Yeah.
We're keeping Dave Freed from eating his popcorn, you know. Just have to look up so many things for us.
That's all right.
Michael Bourne. All right, and Matt Kemp, who was miserable this year, won a Gold Glove last year. So you can take Kemp out of the equation. Bourne and Victorino are certainly candidates to win them again. Has anybody else come on the scene who will get consideration? There's the 1-2, and it's taken high.
How was the young hitter, the batting champion, the soon-to-be crowned batting champion in center
Carlos
field?
Gonzalez?
Is he decent?
He's solid. He's solid.
He's a Gold Glove candidate.
Is Hayward going to get votes as a Gold Glove, as a rookie?
I think so.
No. I would say that Hayward's solid out there. Pagan covers a lot more ground.
I would think that Angel's going to get some votes.
Well, the reason I say that is because Gold Glove a lot of times goes on reputation.
Well, the other thing about Angel is because he has not played center field the second half of the year for the most part, he may not get as much consideration as he would if he had been in that spot all year.
And the biggest joke about the Gold Glove for outfielders anyways is that they'll pick 3 center fielders all the time. I mean, they're distinct positions in the outfield, and that's how they should be judged.
It would be like, as that ball lands untouched with a shift on, it would be like picking 3 shortstops
for the infield
rather than a shortstop at second baseman and third baseman.
Rawlings does a lot of great things. That's one of the silly things.
I've always thought that was the case, and I wonder why it's never changed. The same thing is true with the All-Star balloting. They lump all the outfielders together. Again, the 3-2 to Fielder, and the curveball misses, and so G issues a 2-out walk.
Well,
that's his third tonight.
Good example is Jeff Francoeur when he was here, or wherever he plays. If you split it up in such a way, there's no one who plays right field any better than Jeff does.
There have only been 2 Met outfielders ever to win Gold Gloves.
Tommy Agee won one. We just mentioned him.
And Carlos Beltran. Here's Corey Hart, 1 for 2. Singleton scored in the second inning. Now we get to watch, Pagan play every day, but I don't think we've seen an outfielder in the National League have a better year out there than he has.
And to get a Golden Glove too, when you're young and you're burst on the scene and no one knows who you are, you got to get a little publicity. The guys have got to go around and say, "Hey, watch our center fielder; he can pick it," and you got to get the word out there.
Well, that's how Bourne won last year. He wasn't really a known quantity, but stole a lot of bases and got to play every day.
My first Gold Glove was '78, and I should have won in '77 over Garvey. It took me a while to get through Garvey and get people to notice me.
Here's part of the difficulty, and I don't want to indict anybody on this, but I have actually watched. It's the coaches and the managers who vote on the Gold Gloves. I have watched groups of coaches fill out Gold Glove ballots.
I've watched it too.
And a lot of them that I've watched don't necessarily study this as much as you might think.
Yeah, it's definitely not like they're taking an SAT test. They are just, when do we have to have it back? Like to have it today. Here you go.
Here you go.
Who
plays center field? Who should I put that?
That's the guy that plays. Yeah,
it's more difficult today too with the 3 divisions.
Right. That's true. More teams you don't get to see that much. 2-2 now to Hart.
The one thing you saw in this game, though, if you're watching and you're thinking about Gold Glove, is that Angel Pagan was able to go deep into right center to make a catch, deep into left center to make a catch, showing you how much range he has. He has 2 outfielders with him that he is covering, most of the ground out there.
And made both those plays look easy. 2-2 to Corey Hart, and he pops one up. David Wright backpedaling. Leads it for Reyes, who drops the ball. How about that? The Met infield has not had a distinguished night by any means. That's the first error.
Well, Jose always likes to kind of do that little. He uses 2 hands, but he always likes to, break that glove down real quick and snatch it. Right? And it's a windy night, and there you go. But he used 2 hands.
So the inning is prolonged, and Lorenzo Cain gets a chance with first and third and 2 out. Cain is grounded to third and flying to left 0 for 2. Slider in for a strike. Fielder now at third and Hart at first with 2 out. And Kane hits one out to left center. Another long run through the outfield for Pagan, but this one he can't get to. Fielder is in to score. Hart turning third. He'll come home. It's a 2-run double for Lorenzo Kane. So the Brewers take full advantage of the drop pop-up by Reyes. 2 unearned runs, and it's 4-1 Milwaukee.
Well, one thing as a player, when you make an error, you just kind of sit there and you're out there praying that I've got to hope it doesn't cost my pitcher and our team a run. And in this case, it did. It cost 2. And this ball, probably in Milwaukee's out of here.
One of that cutter down and away, and that's middle, waist high. And Kane in this series has shown me a lot. I don't know about you guys. His speed and power.
5 hits and 5 RBIs for Lorenzo Kane in this series.
Reminds me a little bit of a right-handed Devon White from the days playing with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, they had Mike Cameron here in Milwaukee, and Cameron did a lot of work with Kane. Down to third, right with the charge. Throws across his body, close play, but he gets Escobar to end the inning. The Brewers tack on 2 unearned runs. Halfway through, it's 4-1 Brewers. Home 5th inning, 3rd time around the batting order, and Jose Reyes takes ball 1 from Chris Narveson. Reyes has had a rough night. A couple of ground outs. A ground ball that he didn't handle that went for a hit. A pop-up that he dropped that led to 2 runs. So looking for something positive now. 1-1 the count to Jose. There's your Acela 5th inning recap. Lucas Duda driving the only Met run in the 4th. Lorenzo Kane taking advantage of the error to drive in 2 with a double to put the Brewers up 4-1. Reyes, Feliciano, and Pagan in the home 5th inning. And Reyes fooled on the changeup 1-2.
Big cut by Jose here. Fooled by that change.
Keith, I know it didn't happen to you too often, but when you make an error and then you come to bat the next inning, is it still with you?
Actually, you want the redeemer. Yeah. We used to call in baseball parlance the redeemer. Come up and redeem. You either, if you don't lead off an inning or you got someone on base, you can drive it in, get that run back, or be part of leading off an inning and getting the rally started.
Can you sometimes try too hard?
No.
In that redeemer at bat?
Not unless you're a youngster. You're a professional. trained professional like the three of us up here in the booth, it doesn't happen.
Don't go that far. Don't go that far.
We've been known to try too hard.
It can also work the other way, Gary. When you're struggling and you're 0 for 4, if you're a true professional, you want to go out defensively and make a play.
Reyes down swinging, and Narveson has his 7th strikeout.
Fastball beats him.
Still beat him in ultra mode. Here's Feliciano, 1 for 2, singled back in the first. Ricky Weeks with a chance, and there are 2 out. So 2 out and nobody on. Get all the latest Jets news and rumors as they gear up for Sunday's matchup in Buffalo with constantly updated insider info and opinion on the Jets blog featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports.
News and rumors?
News and rumors. They try and keep them separate. Here's Pagan, who's 1 for 2, singled into left center in the first inning. That's had a scoring chance in the first with 2nd and 3rd and 1 out, but Narveson got through that one, striking out right, getting Hessman on a ground ball. Brewers got the lead in the next inning, and they've been up ever since. Milwaukee trying to take 3 out of 4 from the Mets here after beating the Mets 2 out of 3 at Miller Park back in May.
And if the Mets lose this Wago tonight, they will be insured of a sub-500 season.
There is an odd confluence going into this game tonight that I'm sure that many have not noticed. The Mets begin the night tied for 3rd place in the National League East. The Brewers begin the night tied for 3rd place in the National League Central. Wow. Something's got to give. Like the feet of Pagan, they move 2 and 1. The Brewers are locked in a flat-footed tie with Houston for 3rd in the Central, and the Mets the same with Florida in the East.
You're right, Keith. Houston did make a move, didn't they?
You sure did.
Ken Maka's job, like that of Jerry Manuel, is rumored to be in jeopardy when the season ends. Pagan hooks one out to left, and Braun is there. 1-2-3 inning for Chris Narveson. We have an official game. 5 in the books. 4-1 Brewers. Suzuki and the amazing new Kizashi midsize sports sedan. Suzuki, the power of engineering. By Hospital for Special Surgery. And by Lexus. John Lucroy leads off in the 6th inning against Dylan G. G starts this inning with 92 pitches, which makes you suspect that this will be his final inning of the season. So he'll try and make it a good one. Lucroy is 0 for 2. Pagan made a long running catch into the gap his last time up. And he gets his head snapped back. 1-1.
Don't lean in there, kid. That's all fair. In love and war. It's not even close.
Ryota Igarashi on call in the Mets bullpen. G's allowed 4 runs and 7 hits over 5 innings. 2 of the runs unearned. And a curveball for a strike, 1-2. The pitcher Narveson on deck, and then Ricky Weeks for the Brewers in the 6th. Meanwhile, the game has gone to the 7th in San Diego. The Brewers and Cubs still scoreless. Excuse me, the Padres and Cubs. Did I say Brewers and Cubs? Got Brewers on the brain.
It's all right. I know what you're talking about. But we got to clear it up for the people at home.
There they are, San Diego and Chicago. After the Giants put a win on the board this afternoon.
There's some tightness over there in San Diego.
Well, whether the Padres win or lose today, they will still have to sweep the Giants if they want to win the West, because they'll be either 2 or 3 behind. However, if they win today, they'll be 1 game back in the wild card, which means they might be able to get that without sweeping, depending on what the Braves do over the weekend.
And Atlanta's playing Philadelphia.
In foul ground, Esman squeezes it. 1 away. Let's check in with Jonas Schwartz in the studio. He has a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Padres going with the old school mustard and mud
84 uniform. Nice.
And all those strikeouts from Garland were fastballs.
He's usually more of a ground ball guy.
Pumped up, right? 14 wins this season for the Padres.
Narveson is singled and sacrificed. Well, he was one of those pitchers who was out on the free agent market this past offseason. Didn't get maybe as much attention as a John Lackey or even a Jason Marquis. 3-0 to the opposing pitcher. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt.
Guys, Mike Pelfrey will make one more start this year. It'll come on Sunday, the final game of the regular season. And I talked to him today about a couple things. First of all, the evolution, if you will, of that splitter, which he used so much this year. And he said, you know, at the beginning of the year, I think it helped. It wasn't on scouting reports, and I got a lot of fastball swing and misses on that change. And then there was a period where I kind of didn't have the same bite on it, didn't have the same command. It was going out of the strike zone, and guys laid off. And you know, then I started to get the command back, the feel back, and I think that's really happened in this process. You know, the last 6 or 7 starts that I've had. I said, Mike, going forward, what's the biggest need for you now to take the next step? And he said, it's 7 innings. And when I say that, I mean I have to pitch 7 innings at least every game. And you know, I think I look back at this year as Duda puts out a 1 away amid the win, and he said, you know, there are times where I had those rough innings. I had those 30-pitch first innings, and it inhibited me, and I only gave the team 5 innings, and that's not enough. He said, I look at Johan Santana, and he's gone out there and had 30-pitch first innings, but you look up, and he's through 7. He said, so after that, I got to find a way to get a 7-pitch next inning. I have to find a way to get over that when that type of thing happens to me. Guys?
Well, you've said it often, Ronnie, that the most important thing for Pelfrey is to find a way to get 1 and 2 pitch outs.
Yeah, because he has that kind of stuff to get ground ball after ground ball. And contact is his friend, not his enemy. 7 innings pitched in 33 starts. He's going to be making his 33 starts. That's a 230 to 240 inning year. I think for Mike, if he gets that pitch count down, he's a guy that I would tell him to aspire to pitch more complete games. You know, be the kind of guy that goes out there like Santana on his best days, and game is over when he has his good stuff.
Well, I think it speaks volumes about the lowering of the bar, to be honest with you. Second best.
G ahead on Weeks 0-2. And Weeks down swinging to end the inning. So if that was G's final inning of the year, he finishes it with a strikeout. His second of the night. 4-1 Milwaukee. American League pennant, and 43% of you opt for the Tampa Bay Rays.
That's a really good call. Again, injuries are going to play a factor. Can Evan Longoria come back 100%? He has that, I think, the bad quadricep that he hurt on a defensive play, because he is such an important part of that offense.
David Wright leads off in the home sixth inning. David is 0 for 2, struck out, grounded out against Chris Narveson, who's bidding for his 12th win. It'll be Wright, then Hessman and Duda for the Mets in the bottom of the sixth. The Mets have been limited to 3 hits in this game. Duda's double in the fourth drove in the game's only run for the Mets. Narveson ahead 1-2. And Wright reaches for one and pokes it out to second. And Weeks throws him out, 1 away. It's been a strikeout and ground ball parade for Chris Narveson tonight.
What's that, 8 ground balls and 7 strikeouts?
1 ball hit in the air. That was Pagan's fly ball to left that ended the fifth. Here's Mike Hessman, who scored the only Met run, walked, and then raced home on the double by Duda in the fourth. Hessman getting a rare start tonight, giving Ike Davis the night off against the lefty. Mets will face 3 right-handers in the series against Washington, starting with Jordan Zimmerman tomorrow night, then Yuneski Maya on Saturday, and Livan Hernandez in the finale Sunday.
I'm going to be interested in seeing how Zimmerman's throwing coming off that Tommy John surgery. Took him about a year to come back.
It'll be the only Zimmerman we see over the
That's
weekend.
right.
Ryan Zimmerman's been shut down for the season.
What do you have, ribs or something this
Yeah.
time? Had a hamstring where he missed some games earlier in the season.
Duda on deck. Well, the Nats are 68-91 going into their final series of the year. And that sounds awful, but they've laid the foundation for a team that should be getting better over the next few years. 2 to Hessman. Swing and a miss. Got him with a curveball. And Narveson has his 8th strikeout, 1 shy of his season high.
Well, the best pitch for Narveson tonight has been that curveball. It's been sharp, effective.
DPG Pittsburgh Paints overhead camera. Now Duda, who drove a double to the gap in right center, to drive in the only Met run in the 4th. 12 RBIs now for Duda in 68 big league at bats.
There's been a bunch of guys below us. Have you heard them? They're singing Camptown Races every time Lucas Duda comes up.
It's a nice thing about a smaller crowd. You can hear.
That's right.
Everybody.
You can hear every heckler.
I think the Camptown Races, though, is meant as a tribute, not as a heckle.
No, absolutely.
But you got so many song possibilities for Lucas. You got the Police.
That's right.
The do.
The da.
That's all I want to say to you. Zippity doo dah.
Here we go.
Narveson with his 9th strikeout, matching his season high. He's retired 7 in a row after 6, 4-1 Milwaukee. Sunday's Jets matchup in Buffalo with exclusive interviews and insider info on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, part of the New York Sports Local, tomorrow at 5 on SNY. Igarashi takes over the pitching for the Mets as we go to the 7th inning.
Promising sign yesterday for Igarashi in the first game. Got 4 outs with a punch out. Threw a lot more strikes down in the strike zone.
Throwing from the stretch, Ronnie.
Yes.
Ryan Braun will lead off for Milwaukee in the 7th inning. Let's check in with Kevin.
Guys have been out here in left field all night just kind of watching Lucas Duda play his position. I talked to Razor Shines about how he tries to get him better in that position. He said, well, really, it's all about reps. One thing here at home at Citi Field, I try to hit a lot of balls into the corner and have him run after those balls and try and simulate a runner. That's one thing, to play the balls in the corner. And the other thing is hitting balls over his head off that wall. There was a play on the last homestand when McLeod hit one. He ran too far into it, went way back. Beltran ended up picking it up. So, getting used to that type of thing. But you know, I asked Razor, is he comfortable? He said no, he's not comfortable until he stops looking for help. But honestly, that's on me. I have to do a really precise job of getting him in position and really motioning him, you know, over, up, back, each batter until he gets to that point. And I guess, you know, when you watch him, his swing certainly is nice. Keith, you've broken down his swing. You've talked about what he brings to the table there. Guys, is there a place he could fit in? I mean, is there a place that he could fit in on the 2011 Mets, or right now that position is just not open?
Well, I think there's a chance for him. You want to rush him. I mean, it wouldn't hurt him to be in AAA next year. I think he's certainly opened some eyes. Platoon, you have to wait and see. This is a lot of things are going to happen in the offseason. I think Pagan will be in center field. Certainly, he's got a chance. And I'm Lucas Duda. I got to go home in spring, in the winter, and work hard and feel that I got a chance to come to the spring training. And if I have a good spring, maybe go north.
Yeah, again, maybe this is one of those winters where you do work on your hitting, but also working on defense just as often. Right now, the way the Mets are constituted, there isn't a place for him.
Well, it depends.
In the outfield.
Well, it depends. I mean, first of all, you have to think about what might happen in the offseason. You're right. As it's constituted right now, you have 3 starting outfielders with Bay and Pagan and Beltran, regardless of whether Beltran's your center fielder or your right fielder. That remains to be seen. But the other piece of it is the Mets have to figure out with Duda what they see him as in the long term. Do they see him as a starting player down the road? In which case he's probably better off in AAA in that scenario. Or can he help this team more as a left-handed bat off the bench? Braun lifts one to right and Feliciano back to grab it, one away. I mean, Chris Carter has filled that role very nicely this year, but, you know, if the Mets would rather have a Duda sitting on the bench, that might be a place for him.
Well, the other thing that comes into play for Lucas is that we're assuming that Carlos Beltran is going to play 150 games.
Right.
So there's going to be a chance to get some starts out in the outfield. And if they feel comfortable now, he had a big pinch hit, base hit in Philadelphia coming off the bench. Now it's only one at bat. That doesn't show what it. It shows something that he can come off the bench and get a hit against a good pitcher.
And then there's the other piece that you need to assess. You're talking about Razor Shine's working with Duda, trying to make him a better outfielder. But you're playing in a ballpark here, which definitely puts a premium on defensive skill and speed with your outfielders. And, you know, Duda's never going to be a speed burner out there in left field. So, you know, part of the assessment that you have to do of your organization of a player like that, as McGee lifts another one to right and Feliciano's there, is that are you better off nurturing Lucas Duda to be a starting player in your own ballpark, or are you better off nurturing him to be a trade chip to send to an American League team where he might be better suited to play and bring back other players in return?
Well, I personally would not want to trade him off unless you got something nice for the moment. Right now, it's a perfect fit. I think there's nothing wrong with him going to AAA, playing a full season at AAA, and getting more seasoning. If he tears it up, you never know what happens. I mean, you've got Beltran, who's questionable whether he can play every day next year. He's already out now. His knee gave him trouble. He's out the rest of the year. You don't know the health of Beltran next year.
But I guess I'm talking more about organizational philosophy. If this team is going to play in this ballpark with these dimensions, can you nurture a player like that to be a starting outfielder on your team?
I would say no. I would say that if you're going to play in this ballpark and you want to have a winning team and you provide your team with such an advantage against any other team that comes in here, you've got to be quick, you got to be fast, you got to be able to pitch it, you got to be able to catch it. And if you can do those things, I'm talking about stealing bases in the bucket loads, hit and running, doing all those little things, because right now the Mets, the way they are in their lineup, we found that it's very hard for them to put those big, huge innings together.
Let me also say this. When the Mets played their best this year, their outfield was Bay, Pagan, and Francoeur. 3+ outfielders out there playing every day, and that was helping them win. 1-2-3 inning for Igarashi, 4-1 Milwaukee. Offensively for the Mets, only 3 hits. Lucas Duda, an RBI double in the 4th, bringing in the Mets' only run as they trail 4-1. And Joaquin Arias will bat for Mike Nigias, leading off at the bottom of the 7th against Chris Narveson. 102 pitches over 6 innings for Narveson, who has matched his season high with 9 strikeouts. One and one to Arias, with Ruben Tejada on deck, and then the pitcher spot. Sean Green getting ready in the Mets bullpen after Igarashi pitched another very successful inning. And certainly the Mets have to be encouraged with what they've seen the last couple of days from Igarashi. Arias lines one to left, and Braun in to make the sliding grab. One away.
Well, Braun gets a real good jump on this ball, comes in nicely. And that's like minor league sliding practice, Ron. I mean, just sliding the grass, the outfield grass.
There's more work for the clubhouse guys and get those grass stains out of the fans. Carlos Villanueva up in the Milwaukee bullpen. Ruben Tejada steps in. He hasn't seen a strike yet tonight. 8 pitches, 8 balls.
He's going to get a first pitch fastball right down the middle.
Nine for 9.
You were half right. It was a fastball, but it wasn't down the middle.
I just thought after 2 walks as a pitcher, all you're thinking about is I'm throwing this ball right down the middle. I'm not walking this hitter again.
Mike Davis has come out on deck to pinch hit, and Tejada lays down a bunt, and it's a perfect one. A bunt hit for Tejada. So Ruben's on for the 3rd straight time. Mets have just their 4th hit. Time for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break, and Gary Apple.
All right, Gary, coming up tonight, going to hear from Tiki Barber, the former Giant running back, not exactly painting a rosy picture for the head coach Tom Coughlin. Also going to check in on the races in the National League West and the wild card. Hope to see you tonight, guys.
I confuse my updates.
That can happen. It's okay. Now don't go home and lose any sleep over it, Garrett. Take it easy. It's all right. It's been a long year.
You know, hate to have that happen.
I know you do. I know that you are a perfectionist.
We were going for the perfect season.
You are a perfectionist.
It's like Davis pinch hitting. Ike has had a wonderful month of September.
Those are admirable qualities you have there. You know, it's an admirable
you drive
quality.
yourself crazy, too.
I understand.
Well, you know that.
Right.
Ike had a sacrifice fly in game 2 of the doubleheader yesterday for the Mets' only run in that game. 1 for 8 in this series. And Narveson gets ahead of him 0-2.
He's got a lot of break on that curveball, doesn't he?
Reyes on deck. They've gone to the bottom of the 8th in San Diego. Padres and Cubs still no score. Both teams in the bullpens now. And Ike pops one up. Out goes Escobar, the shortstop, to call, and battling it through the wind for the 2nd out. The wind has been howling off and on, blowing out.
Considering the kind of season the Padres have had, there must not be a fingernail left in Petco Park. I mean, every game.
Well, they've lived their season on the edge.
Yeah.
They had a lead for a long time. Let that get away with a 10-game losing streak.
They give a lot of inspiration, though, to teams that did not have a good year and can rebound from not having a good year just by pitching, playing defense, and having a strong bullpen.
Here's Reyes, who's been battling a rough night, and he's going to face a new pitcher, Ken Maka, on his way out to the mound. Narveson has worked 6 2/3 innings.
What?
Throwing 111 pitches, giving up 4 hits in his final start of the season. And he's going to take his exit, and Carlos Villanueva will come on. So fine last start of the season for Narveson. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln Mercury as Villanueva makes his way in. This series.
Yeah, got the win in yesterday's ball game, game 1. You see his numbers. He was up with the big club to begin the year, sent back down and recalled as a September call-up.
Reyes has had a rough night, all of it batting right-handed. 2 comebackers and a strikeout, and has also made an error in the field that led to 2 runs. Now a bat left-handed for the first time tonight, with Tejada at first and 2 outs. And Narveson threw 111 pitches over 6 2/3, 4 hits, just 1 run so far, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts, and a chance for his 12th win of the year.
And he's getting stronger as he went along.
Needs the season to go another month, or this game to go another couple of innings with him in it.
Well, you had to take him out. He only had 128 days between starts. Jeez.
It is a little puzzling. I mean, he's been going great. He handled Reyes each of his 3 at-bats. It's hard to understand why he would take him out at this point.
There's the thing, and it doesn't matter if it's a great pitcher or it's one of your 5th starters. And Keith will attest to this. Some days, that pitcher out there has your number, and as soon as you take him out, the other team just goes collective sighs. Boy, thank God he's out of the game. Now maybe we can get some hits.
Many a time that I've had George Hendrick was the greatest. He didn't like a guy like St. Louis days. He'd get his first at bat and make an out, and he'd get in the dugout. George never said anything, but he'd just go, "You all want to knock this pitcher out real quick. I won't mind." It was very rarely he'd say that. So we would now go, "Oh, George has trouble with this guy." I just don't understand the move. The guy's cruising right along. Even if he gives up a 2-run bomb, it's still a 4-3 ball game.
You know, yesterday I was wondering why Dave Bush was taken out. He was pitching so great, but we found out later that he had a blister problem. So you never know. Paying a lot of attention to Tejada at first base with a 3-run lead.
Well, let me ask you this. As a general rule, Ronnie, do you think managers should manage their starting pitcher differently in his last start of the season?
No, I don't think so. If a guy you've been managing him the same way all year, that's fine. Except he's cruising. It'd be different if he was laboring. For whatever reason, Narveson found great inspiration in his last start, wanted to make it special, and he had made it special, but he was on his way to making it great.
Whatever Narveson's saying, the other guy next to him is agreeing with it all.
2-2 to Reyes. And Villanueva strikes him out on a pitch in the dirt. Reyes doesn't make much of an effort to run to first base. And Lucroy throws him out. Reyes is struck out for the second time tonight. Boy, has he had a rough evening. Behind the plate, Ike Davis stays in at first base after pinch hitting. Joaquin Arias stays in at second. And on to pitch for the Mets in the 8th inning is Sean Green. That's not Sean, that's Jose Reyes, who has had a tough night tonight. I heard some boos from the crowd.
Well, that's what happens when you don't have tons and tons of people here. You're going to hear all those hecklers and boos. As Keith said, Sean Green, nice job yesterday. Inning of work, gave up a hit. Struck out a couple batters, though, as his slider has gotten much better his last 2 outings. 3 outings, in fact.
It'll be Corey Hart, Lorenzo Cain, and Alcides Escobar, 3 right-hand batters against Green. And Green's first pitch up and away to Hart. Corey Hart 1 for 3. He hit the pop-up that Reyes dropped in the 5th inning with 2 out. So instead of the inning over, Lorenzo Cain got a shot, took advantage of it, drove in 2 with a double, and turned a 2-1 game into a 4-1 game. Dylan G went the first 6. He's on the hook. He allowed 4 runs, 2 of them earned on 7 hits. Ryota Igarashi looked very good again with a 1-2-3 7th. And now Green in the 8th. Hart struggling with that slider, fouls it off 1-2. 9th inning now in San Diego. Cubs and Padres still no score.
Did you see how Texas won the ball game last night? I was just thinking that San Diego's going to win this game. Marmol's going to walk in the winning run.
Right with a quick toss, gets Hart 1 away. Let's check in with Jonas Schwartz. He's got a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Here's Lorenzo Cain, who had a 2-run double his last time up. We were talking about that Texas game.
Texas game. I mean, I've seen a pitcher come in and balk in the winning run without throwing a pitch, Mike Stanton. But last night, Nelson Cruz struck out with a runner on second base. The ball got away from the catcher. He threw it down to first to record the final out to give the Mariners the win.
Right.
And threw it past the first baseman into right field. The runner on second scored, and Rangers won the game. I mean, unbelievable.
What's the old saying? You never know what you're going to see when you go to the ballpark.
That's so true. So true.
You know what surprised everybody tonight? What they saw at the ballpark that they didn't expect? A ball game.
That's right.
I mean, when we arrived here today, I think everybody's expectation was, well, we're here, but the game's going to get rained out. And there hasn't been a drop of rain.
My expectation was that we're going to bang this game right out by 12 noon.
Mm-hmm. The way the forecast looked, that looked like good sense, right?
Yes, because it was going to just pound us all day.
But it just shows you never know.
Shows how great it is to be a meteorologist here. I mean, come on. Not even close.
What's the success rate?
Well,
they couldn't. You're not going to be on their side on this one.
They couldn't predict the winds bending that storm around New York City.
Well, at least they could have said, well, it's possible that we could get 6 inches of rain, instead of saying doomsday is upon us, which is what we heard from every meteorologist.
Sensationalism. No more reporting, just sensationalism.
Cain goes down looking with a solid sinker from Sean Green for the second out.
That being said, we're making all this noise. Good pitch inside by Sean. And we might be driving home in a deluge.
May well be.
Well, I'm hopeful that isn't the case.
Well, for now it has stayed to the west. Eventually it's going to curl back in, but by then hopefully we'll be home snug at our destinations.
As a bug in a rug?
Yeah, that. Escobar 2 for 3, drove in a run with a second inning infield hit. In fact, he's in a couple of balls that might well have been handled by Met infielders that were not, that have gone for base hits. Mets have not played their best defensive game tonight. It's been a very good defensive year for the Mets overall, though, you have to say.
Especially
Their pitching and defense have certainly been everything you could have hoped for.
Mike's provided a nice stability over there at first base.
Wright playing in, which was the spot to be. Throws out Escobar, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Sean Green. Now to the bottom of the 8th, with the Brewers still up 4-1. Starts tomorrow right here at Citi Field. The Mets and the Nationals. 6:30 the coverage right here on SNY. Don't miss it. Here's your Mercedes matchup for tomorrow night. Pat Mish tries again for his first win of the year. Jordan Zimmerman goes to the mound for the Nats. Todd Coffey will pitch the bottom of the 8th inning for Milwaukee.
He's been one of those real workhorses. We remember him, first seeing him in Cincinnati when he appeared in a record high for him, 81 games, 78 games last year for the Milwaukee Brewers, and having a good season this year.
In San Diego, September call-up Brad Snyder drove in a run with a base hit against Heath Bell in the top of the 9th, and the Cubs now lead the Padres 1-0. Padres lose that game, they'll be 3 behind the Giants with 3 to play and 2 behind the Braves for the wild card with 3 to play, and it will make their chances very slim.
And going to San Francisco for the final weekend.
Now I will say this, remember 1999, the Mets were 2 out in the wild card with 3 to play.
Yeah.
They forced a 1-game playoff and got in the postseason and wound up in the National League Championship Series that year, so it is possible.
Well, in '85, the Mets had that opportunity in St. Louis, the 3 back, 3 games, won the first 2, but couldn't come up with the third. It can be done.
Here's Feliciano, who's 1 for 3, and he takes a fastball for a strike. What was the scenario with the Brewers and the Orioles in '82? One of those teams was 3 back with 3 to play, and
I think
won the first 2.
I think the Brewers were behind.
And did they have a 1-game playoff, or they won it the final day?
Final day.
Sutton on the mound.
I don't think it was a playoff.
1-1 to Feliciano. Well, there have been a plethora of 1-game playoffs over the last few years. You had that Colorado-San Diego wildcard playoff game in '07. You had the White Sox,
Minnesota.
the Twins 2 years ago, and then the Twins and the Tigers last year for the American League Central.
Yes.
So who knows? Maybe there'll be another one this year. Angel Pagano on deck. Feliciano 1 for 3 on the night, singled back in the first inning, and he takes one at his feet. '82, the Brewers went into Baltimore. It was a 4-game series. The Brewers had a 4-game lead, lost the first 3, and then won on the last day.
Wow. Coffey still throws hard.
See, 2 of the pitchers on that staff. We talked about the hitters in '82. Vukovic was their main starter.
Vukovic, did he win the Cy Young that year? I think he did.
Won 18 games that
year. I think Vuk won the Cy Young that year. Pete Vukovic.
Mike Caldwell was
Mike
on that
Caldwell, Sutton,
Moose Haas,
but they put him in middle relief. Okay. And we faced those 3.
And Pete Ladd, one of the guys coming out of the
bullpen. Pete Ladd,
that
came in. They lost fingers, and that really hurt them. Ladd was their saver. And Pete Ladd walked in a run in that series. It walked Lonnie Smith, I believe, with the bases loaded in a critical game. He kind of blew up. He lost his cool. There you go.
Party like it's '82.
And Bob McClure on that staff.
Bob McClure, yes.
Mac.
Randy Lurch. Jim Slayton.
Yes, I faced Slayton. I got in a bet out Slayton.
3-2 to Feliciano. And he pounds one into the ground. Foul.
Check on Vukovic, Dave. I think Vuk won the Cy Young that year. Former teammate. That was the big trade that Whitey Herzog made. They made a world champion out of, I guess, us and the Milwaukee Brewers.
And they still see Vukovic around a lot. So I'm in Philly the other night.
Yes.
Who's he scouting for?
Pirates.
Slow ground ball, and Weeks hurries in and throws out Feliciano for the first out. So 1 out in the bottom of the 8th.
Whitey Herzog traded Ted Simmons, who was a hometown favorite. He also traded for Suter and Fingers in the offseason. So we had Fingers and Suter. He traded Simmons and Fingers, and I forget someone else. And we got Sixto Lizcano, Larry Sorensen, David Green. And really, it was a better trade for. It was Vukovic in that trade too. Wow. So they gave him a Cy Young Award winner. They gave him an All-Star catcher, and Simmons, and a stopper, a Hall of Fame stopper, and all his Fingers. And we really got Sixto Lizcano, who was Bush Stadium was small, slight, too big for him. It was too big for him. Larry Sorensen was a 500 pitcher. David Green was a tremendous talent, but he was loco.
Loco's the problem.
I love David, one of my good friends, but he's loco.
Pagan pulls one foul. Vukovic did win the Cy Young in '82, beat out Jim Palmer and Dan Quisenberry that year. You ever faced Quisenberry?
Yes, in spring training. He was the only submariner that ever I couldn't figure out because he threw at 6 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Most submariners are at 7 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and there's an adjustment you can make. But he threw at 6 o'clock, and I just couldn't pick it up. Could not pick it up.
Pagan strikes out for the second out of the eighth. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. We ask you which two Mets have led the team in runs scored 4 or more years. Figured Mookie maybe. Yeah. Maybe Reyes. Alonso. How about that?
Oh, Edgardo had some great years here, didn't he? Jeez. And then just fell off a cliff.
Alfonso led the team in runs scored 4 times in 5 years, and in between he was beaten out by Mike Piazza. Of course, he drove himself in one. You know who led the team in runs scored in '85 and '86?
85 and 86. Got it, am I right?
Yep.
Thank you. I always scored runs.
Speedster.
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh,
I did score runs.
Good baseman. I always walked and got hits, so I was a really good third hitter. I set up my 4 and 5 and 6 hitters. My 4 hitters always behind me. I prided myself that they drove in 100 runs. Most of the time, you look at the record, the guys hit behind me drove in 100.
Of course, the leadoff hitters on that team were platooning.
That's right. And they're pretty good, too. Mookie and Lenny.
Combined, they must have beaten you combined. Mookie and Lenny.
Oh, well.
Run scored.
Well, Gary, it doesn't count.
Say it did. I was just wondering.
I don't believe I scored 100 runs as a Met.
No, I don't think you did either.
No.
97, I think, was the most.
Yep. I scored 100, I think, twice in St. Louis.
You had 87 runs scored in '85 and 94 in '86. The next year, Strawberry scored 108 to lead the team. Club record's 127. That belongs to Carlos Beltran in '06.
Was that the year Carlos hit 44 or 41 home runs?
41.
Yeah, what a year he had that year.
That was his second year with the Mets after the disappointment in '05, and he just had a phenomenal year.
Phenomenal year.
Wright pulls one through the hole, and he's got his first base hit of the night. Just the 5th Met hit of the game. And so a 2-out base runner in the 8th.
Well, that one a day keeps the doctor away.
So much nicer if it comes with a couple of men on. Here's Josh Tolley up for the first time. Tolley came in to catch after Mike Nicky is left for a pinch hitter. Josh went 0 for 4 in the nightcap last night. He's 1 for 9 in this series. Averaging .268 for the season. So it's been a little bit of a rough finish for Josh at the plate. And Coffey misses high with the fastball. We go to the bottom of the 9th in San Diego. Cubs 1, Padres nothing. Carlos Marmol trying to finish it off for Chicago. 2-0 to Tolley.
very hilarious, Ron. In Wrigley Field, Josh Tolle, even though he's from Southern Illinois and it's Cardinal country, they called him Josh Toll the entire 3-game series in Chicago.
No, Toll. All 3 games?
Yes.
It's a final now at Petco Park. Cubs beat the Padres 1-0. So the Giants now lead the Padres by 3 with 3 to play, with a 3-game series between those two teams beginning at AT&T Park tomorrow night. And the Braves now have a 2-game lead over the Padres in the wild card. The Braves will play the Phillies their final 3 games of the season. So it's all there for San Francisco and Atlanta.
Now looks less like there'll be a game 163.
Well, what it's going to take probably is the Padres sweeping the Giants this weekend.
Well, then the Atlanta will face Kyle Kendrick, and they'll run up Beachy against Kendrick.
Well, Charlie Manuel's already said that he's going to play his regulars some, but he's not going to play them full games, and he's going to use, I believe he said, Hamels for 2 or 3 innings in one of those games, but not more than that. So, you know, the Phillies have to take care of themselves first, and their first priority is to get themselves ready for the postseason.
Philly used Hamels 2 or 3 innings his last game.
Well, that's a good point. That wasn't by design.
And the opener in that series, guys, in San Francisco is going to be Matt Cain going for his 14th against Richard.
Richard's been their best pitcher.
Yeah, 13-9. It's a heck of a matchup.
Yeah.
It's the other thing too. Tolle lines one to right center field for a base hit. Right turns second, heads for third as the ball rolls to the warning track. Right is being waved home, and David scores as Tolle has himself an RBI double, and the Brewer lead is cut to 4-2.
Oh, nicely done by Josh. Fastball right down Broadway. Made him pay.
David Wright scored his 86th run of the year. And Naka a little perturbed with the pitch selection there. David Wright safe at home, safe and secure. New York life. Pitching change for the Brewers. The lefty Zach Braddock will come in to face Lucas Duda. Tying run at the plate, 4-2 Milwaukee. We'll be right back. Lucas Duda up against the rookie left-hander Zach Braddock. Mets have a run home in the 8th, trailing 4-2. Tolley at second and 2 out. And Duda takes a fastball strike from Braddock.
Well, they've got some good arms out there. We saw Manny Parra, the left-hander, throw in yesterday's ball game. Zach Braddock the same, 90 plus from the left side.
Braddock got Duda on a fly ball to left in the second game yesterday.
Well, you got to be impressed that Duda already has a double in this ball game off the left-handed starter Narveson. Can he do it against a guy bringing up some serious cheddar late in the ball game when you need a base hit?
Yeah, fastball strike. 0-2. Lucas 1 for 3 in this game. Struck out twice against Narveson, but jolted that double to the gap in right center in the 4th to drive in the Mets' first run. Joaquin Arias waiting on deck. On 0-2, Duda swings and misses the breaking ball, and Braddock strikes him out on 3 pitches. Mets get 1 run on Tolley's RBI double. 4-2 Milwaukee going to the 9th. Dylan G in the second inning added a couple of unearned runs in the 5th. That's able to scratch back on Duda and Tolley's RBI doubles. 4-2 Milwaukee as we go to the 9th. John Lucroy leads off in the 9th inning against Sean Green, who pitched a 1-2-3/8 and stays out there for the 9th. Lucroy 0 for 3, drove in a run with a second inning fielder's choice. Chris Dickerson has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter, and then Ricky Weeks here in the top of the 9th. There's Dickerson, the former Cincinnati Red. Lucroy hits it out to center field, and Pagan is backpedaling. 1 out. Let's check in with the studio. Jonas Schwartz, Bobby Ojeda. What's coming up on Lincoln Mercury Postgame Live? All right, guys, we'll check in with you after the game. Here's Chris Dickerson. Getting 213 in a limited role with Milwaukee. The Brewers 4 runs and 7 hits. The Mets 2 runs and 6 hits. Brewers have John Axford, their closer, up in the bullpen, getting ready to try for his second save in this series. Axford blew a save in the opening game of the series Monday night. Picked up the save in game 1 yesterday. And then with Axford unavailable in game 2, the ageless Trevor Hoffman came in for his record extending 601st career save. What's the ruckus? There's Axford getting himself ready. Green ahead 1-2, and the slider misses. 2-2 to Dickerson with Ricky Weeks on deck. It's been a late season resurgence for Green, who missed most of the year because of a stress fracture in his rib. Three and two now. Three, two, and Dickerson pounds one foul. Foul ball off his leg. So Dickerson extends his term in the batter's box. And he walked him. So Green walks the left-hand hitter. First base runner against Sean after he retired 4 in a row. Could he be calling for Pedro? Pedro Feliciano, with his appearances in this series, has now pitched in 22 games in the month of September. That's the most games that any pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball has ever pitched in any calendar month. Wow. 91 appearances overall, 22 in September. Today, of course, his last chance to pitch in September. Tomorrow, October baseball.
That's right.
But it's Manny Acosta, not Pedro, who's up in the bullpen. Ricky Weeks 1 for 4, had an infield single in the second inning. And he gets hit in the back. Now, how many times have we seen Sean Green do exactly that this year?
Well, that's the 24th time that Weeks has been hit. That's supposed to be a slider.
So Dan Warrington will spend a visit. As Acosta gets ready in the bullpen, Ryan Braun will be coming up with 2 men on.
Let me ask you a question, Keith. What are you guys doing when the pitching coach is talking to the pitcher in this kind of game? There's no talk about defense or any of that kind of stuff. Are you just showing support? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. You can shoot the bull with your fellow infielders, break up the monotony of this game, the drudgery.
Candlesticks are always nice.
I always enjoy when Mel came out, though. I always listened to Mel. I had respect for Mel.
Yeah.
And you had to, because Mel had great years, so I always listened to what Mel said.
Ryan Braun is 0 for 3 and a walk tonight. Just 2 for 11 in this series. Green looking for the ground ball and gets it, but it's in the hole. Base hit. Dickerson around third. Feliciano's throw will go to third base. Now caught between first and second. Braun backing up his Reyes, but he gets back in time. It's an RBI single for Braun to stretch the Milwaukee lead to 5-2. Green got what he wanted, just not in the right place.
Well, Braun does this very well. RBI situations, he goes to the opposite field. And Feliciano overthrew the cutoff man. Arias does the right thing, backing up. Ike's got to come in for the cutoff. But David's got to throw it if he's going to get him. He hesitated. Playing back for 2.
Casey McGee dribbles one, stays fair. Tolley makes the play to first, 2 wide. Davis coming home, and he throws it away as Weeks comes in to score. Braun to third, and on to second base goes McGee.
And that's got to be McGee's 100th RBI right there. Is that going to be a ribeye steak?
I don't know. He didn't come till after the throw was made.
What's the rule on that, Gare?
It's an E2, allowing him to reach first. So an E3 on the throw to the plate, so no RBI. So there are 2 errors on the play, one on Tolley for not throwing the runner out at first, and one on Davis for throwing wildly home.
But if the throw is good here, he had every intention of trying to score. If the throw's on target and there's no error in the throw.
I believe he said no RBI, right?
Okay, I agree. I'm just looking at the various scenarios of this play.
Now, he may say E3 simply to let the runners advance to second and third and give
Weeks
him an
was
RBI.
going to score.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait for clarification from Bill Shannon, the official scorer.
That's an interesting call right there for Bill to make.
But it's an E2 on Tolley.
Yes.
And he did say credit an RBI on that play. Yeah, so there you go. That's not exactly the way McGee would have drawn it up on the chalkboard. But it is his 100th RBI of the season.
Well, no one's going to remember next year.
Yeah, when he's a grandfather, he's telling his grandkids, I hit a linear to get my 100th ribby in 2010.
There's Bill.
Bill, using his in-house microphone to provide clarification, comes right into our booth, into our ears, so that we can hear his scoring decision.
So the E3 is only the advancement of the base runner.
The E2 allows McGee to reach. The E3, and it also allows the run to score, but it is an RBI because Weeks was coming down the line anyway. And the E3 allows McGee to go to second and Braun to third. Now the base is loaded after the intentional walk to Fielder, with Braun at third, McGee at second, and Fielder at first. And Corey Hart, the batter, with the Brewers now up 6-2.
So here we are again, Gare. Well, Hart's going for his 100th RBI too.
Sure is.
Wow.
Could get 2 in the same inning.
Maybe he'll hit another 10-footer. Worked for McGee.
He drove a run in yesterday's game with about a 45, 50-footer.
In some respects, it's a very unfortunate inning for Sean Green. He got a ground ball for Braun. It found a hole. He got a 10-footer from McGee. It wound up as a double error. But he put himself in this spot with a walk and a hit by pitch. So how do you view the inning? As an unlucky inning or as one that is Green's fault?
Well, I think for Sean moving forward, Sean, if you are a submariner, your job is to come in and get ground balls. You really can't walk anybody when you're that kind of pitcher.
1-2 to Corey Hart. And he hits a ground ball and finds a hole, and that'll get him to 100 RBIs. Braun scores. McGee stops at third. So in one inning, the Brewers have gotten 2 guys to the 100 RBI plateau. The Brewers are asking that the baseball be taken out of play for Corey Hart's mantelpiece. And so the Brewers have 300 RBI guys. Braun, McGee, and Hart. First time since 1982 they've had 3 players with 100 RBIs. 7-2 Milwaukee as the Mets make a pitching change. Acosta will be coming in. We'll come right back. Manny Acosta comes in to face Lorenzo Cain with the bases loaded. Manny's 39th appearance. 3 runs are home from Milwaukee here in the ninth. They've opened a 7-2 lead. Cain's already driven in a pair tonight and 5 runs in the series. McGee now at third, Fielder at second, and Hart at first. The inning began with a fly ball out from John Lucroy. Looked harmless enough, but Chris Dickerson walked as a pinch hitter. Sean Green hit Ricky Weeks with a pitch. Ryan Braun singled in a run. And then McGee hit the 10-footer that resulted in 2 errors and another run. Slow ground ball. Wright's going to have to come home, but he can't pick it up. And that's another run. It's 8-2.
Wow, this whole inning is just blown up.
Well, this has not been the best night for the Mets infield defense.
That ball stays fair, too. David has no option. That's not going to go foul.
Only had one play, and that's the home.
Base hit.
Yep, another base hit.
Another ribeye steak.
RBI for Cain, his 3rd of the game.
And they batted around.
Here's Alcides Escobar, and he grounds one down to third, and that's a foul ball.
Well, the natives are restless down there.
Ground ball, Prince. Bases loaded. You got to run, don't you?
I can hear the wolves howling down there.
Figuratively. Escobar, the 9th man up in the inning.
Who was the slight shortstop for the Giants those lean years?
Johnny LeMaster?
Oh, they used to get on him. I mean, they rode him, the Giant fans, to distraction.
Kind of like the Yankee fans with Horace Clark. 2-1 to Escobar. Lucroy, who opened the inning, is now on deck. A 4-run ninth for the Brewers to open up an 8-2 lead. And Acosta trying desperately to put the inning to bed. Escobar is 2 for 4 tonight. 2-2. By the way, we mentioned that it's the first time the Brewers have had 3 guys with 100 RBIs since '82. In '82, they actually had 4 guys with 100 and almost 5. Cecil Cooper at 121, Robin Yount 114, Gorman Thomas 112, Ben Oglivie 102, and Ted Simmons at 97. What an offensive team that was. On the outside corner, and Acosta strikes out Escobar for the 2nd out. After 7 consecutive Brewers reached base.
Fastball. Set him up.
So 2 out in the inning, and now Lucroy, who started the inning with a fly ball to center, has a chance to finish it. He's 0 for 4 tonight. Bases loaded, 2 down. And Lucroy takes the breaking ball away for ball 1. Fielder, Hart, and Cain, the base runners. Now, Chris Dickerson is out on deck. He's walked as a pinch hitter earlier in the inning. If he bats again, it will not be a pinch hitting appearance. It will be a limbo at bat.
Limbo?
Yeah, because he won't be batting as a pinch hitter, but he also doesn't occupy a position. So he'll be batting as a non-entity.
Like the doctor from Field and Dreams? That kind of.
Coming out of the cornfield?
Yeah. That kind of limbo at bat.
Moonlight Graham?
Moonlight Graham?
Well, at least Dickerson's had an at bat. That's right. Moonlight never did. And now it's 3-0. So Acosta in danger of forcing in a run. The Brewers have had a dearth of hard hit balls in this inning, but they have 4 runs. couple of errors, an infield hit or two. Some happy times in there. And that's ball 4. And that will force home another run. Fielder trots in to score the 5th run of the inning. Give Lucroy an RBI, and it's 9-2 as this ugliness just expands. It's the 100 RBI club hug in the Milwaukee dugout.
Think about it. 16 home runs, 66 RBIs. Really jumps it incredible notch and gets his 100th, and pure joy from McGee.
And of course, they'll tease him endlessly about how he got it. So now Dickerson, who got this whole thing started with a 1-out walk here in the top of the 9th, will get a limbo at bat. Now, if he hits a grand slam here, just saying, not saying he will.
Okay.
Will he be the first limbo batter ever to hit a grand slam?
Yes,
You
absolutely.
Think? 0-2. Maybe we should go ask Bob Waterman. He's at every game.
That's right. You know, in between innings, I'll go see him.
Bob Waterman from the Elias Sports Bureau. He's always here.
Run over there, see how Bob's doing. You might even know it on the top of his head.
Oh, I'm sure he does. He knows just about everything. Here's the 0-2. And Dickerson lifts one to left. No grand slam here. Duda fighting the wind, stays with it to end the inning. 11 men came to bat. The Brewers score 5. It's 9-2 going to the bottom of the 9th. IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By Absolute Vodka, the ideal choice for cocktails perfected. Enjoy with absolute responsibility. And by Bigelow Organic Iced Teas, available in 4 refreshing flavors. Brandon Kinsler, a refugee from the Northern League, takes over.
When you have a dream, stay with it. This is a living example of what it takes. St. Paul Saints he played for, the independent team in Minnesota. His contract was purchased by the Brewers last season, and here in the big leagues made his debut this season against the Cubs in September.
Joaquin Arias will lead off for the Mets in the bottom of the 9th. Arias has had one at bat in this game. He lined out to left field. A nice sliding catch by Ryan Braun in the 7th inning. And then stayed in the game to play second base. So Brandon Kinsler trying to get the final 3 outs for Milwaukee. Kinsler started out in the Padres organization. He was a draft pick out of junior college, 40th round. He was in the Padres organization for 1 year, and they released him. In 06, he didn't play in baseball at all. In 07, he went to the Winnipeg is it the Gold Eyes?
I think so.
In the Northern League. Played there in 07 and 08, then with the St. Paul Saints in that same league in 09 before the Brewers picked him up. Now, we know the story of Chris Coast, who played for Fargo in that same league for 4 years before he was finally discovered and got to the big leagues at age 33.
This guy throws pretty good. Those St. Paul Saints, people that had to face him.
He strikes out Arias for the first out.
Good slider here. Foot outside.
Well, you know, J.D. Drew played for the St. Paul Saints.
It's a little different case.
Darryl Strawberry played for the St. Paul Saints.
Another different case.
The same. They've had some talent through there.
They have, but
here's Chris Carter pinch hitting for the pitcher. Well, I'll tell you what, though, the independent leagues have given opportunities to some guys who would not have had spots in organized baseball. And it's also given opportunities to guys whose careers appear to be over to try and resurrect their careers. Toward the hole, and a base hit for Carter. And he just keeps coming through as a pinch hitter, doesn't he? That is 18 pinch hits now for Chris Carter. That is a fine year off the bench. Now Ike Davis bats for the second time. Came on to pinch hit in the 7th and popped up to short, stayed in at first base.
No, it's all about opportunities, but Rusty used to tell me if he had 20-plus hits as a pinch hitter in a season, he called it successful.
20 is a lot, though.
Yeah. I mean,
not too many guys get 20 in the course of a given year.
Rusty was great.
The record's like 28 or 29, isn't it? John Vanderwall had the record.
That's right.
The Mets club record is 24. Rusty's got that, 1983. Good breaking ball by Kinsler, 1-1.
What's interesting for a pinch hitter is that sometimes when you're on a good club, you get less at bats. In '83, that team with the Mets struggling, of course, and Rusty was up seemingly every game.
That's the year, I think, that he had, was it 8 straight pinch hits?
Yeah. Rusty was just amazing. He knew what the pitchers were throwing, number one. He stood right on top of the plate, number two. And he had arguably the shortest stroke in the history of the game.
He had a simple philosophy, and that was stand on top of the plate. He had that big old barreled bat, that big old whatever it was, like an R161, whatever that. Big old barrel, and it was short bat lengthwise, and he choked up, and he said, come on, try to throw me inside.
Kind of like Barry Bonds.
I don't think Barry's going to give Rusty any credit.
I didn't think he would, or anybody else for that matter. Toward the middle of the diamond. Nice diving stop by Weeks. Escobar turns it over, and that's how this ball game ends. A beautiful double play turned by Weeks and Escobar. And the Brewers take 3 out of 4 in the series as they take advantage of Met mistakes tonight and win it easily 9-2.
Well, nice backhand right here. Beautiful backhand. And a back flip. And nice footwork here. I was throwing off the wrong foot, seemingly. Yes, he was. And with Ike's wheels, put that in the book.
So Chris Narveson gets his 12th win of the year. Dylan G suffers the loss despite giving up only 2 earned runs in 6 innings. Mets made 3 errors and countless other plays not made. Not a gem of a game for the Mets defensively. And so the Mets have clinched their 2nd consecutive sub-500 season with their 82nd loss. Tomorrow night, the final series of the year begins as the Mets host the Nationals with Pat Bish pitching against Jordan Zimmerman. Brewers win this one 9-2. Time for Lincoln Mercury post-game live. Jonas Schwartz and Bobby Ojeda coming up for Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez, and Kevin Burkhardt, and our entire SNY crew. I'm Gary Cohen saying good night.